Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Monday. Wow, what a weekend, what a crazy day as we all come together, and it's that time of the day where we take everything we know, put it in a box, put it on the shelf, and act like it doesn't exist as we come together to talk about those things that the government won't. To talk about those things from science fiction, more importantly, to talk about those things, from the X-Files, good old Mulder and Scully, but more importantly, those things you can walk outside and see above your house sometimes if as long as you take a look and look up. Yes, we're talking about UFOs. We still call them UFOs here on Disclosure Tonight. Why? Because there's a word for it every single language around the world, and why change it? Yes, we know the government lawyers are fighting on what information they should bring out, what information they shouldn't bring out. All it is a name game. Why? Because they've been fighting a war against the extraterrestrials for over 75 years, and there's nothing stopping them at this point. How do we know? Every single piece of evidence we have, all the good information we have, it's all about war. None of it is about a peace mission. Nothing is about welcoming it. Yes, they're going to do whatever they have to do to rip the technology away from these creatures to use it for their methods of war. It's a sad fact of where we're at. And even today, over the weekend, we had 4 UFOs shot down. They're not saying they're from China. They're not saying they're saying they're not from ETs, but could they be from UTs? Could they be from, UTIs? More importantly, could they be from another dimension? We don't know, but can we trust the people in the government? Hell no. 90% of you say the government is not trustworthy, especially of Department of Defense. We had that survey earlier today, and that's why we have Disclosure Tonight. Good night, everybody. Gary, I told you don't put that there. Welcome,
Please
everybody.
note for the record, Thomas does that himself, and I'm getting blamed for it. Thank you.
Oh, God, he can't go along with it. My goodness, it's one of those things. Yes, we found this yesterday when I was putting together some videos. Yes, it's the old UFO alert. It still makes me jump every time we do it, but you know what? You gotta have, that is the Fox News. But kabang! Gotta have some fun with it. Before we get too far into this, yes, we started an hour earlier today. Why? Because maybe it'll give me a chance to leave an hour early. But you never know where the show's going to go. Welcome, everybody. What a great weekend. What a great audience. Holy cow. We had, 17,000 views already of the video from yesterday. We had 1,400 people in the show on Super Bowl Sunday going up against the Super Bowl. Yes, it did dive down a little bit as Super Bowl got going on, but we're still holding around 1,000 people for the longest time. Holy cow. It just shows how much of there's an interest in what's going on as we know, the U.S. downs 4 UFOs. And there was a White House press briefing today, and I just want to go ahead and put this out there. Coming from a person who can't even pronounce Canada. Do we really trust the government? Do we really trust the DOD? I don't think so, but would you look at that? Holy cow. Abe Troff has already come out with a super chat. Holy cow. Thank you very much, Abe Troff. We can get back to our usuals. Yes, we want to thank Abe Troff for starting off the super chats tonight on Disclosure Tonight. Holy cow. Yes, Disclosure Tonight is essential viewing this week and hopefully for the future. We've got a lot of new people who joined us in the program over the weekend. Over 500 new subs. We made over 5,000 subs, and we haven't bought one of them. Not one of them. You know who I'm shaking my finger at out there? All those people out there who have channels, who buy subs just to have for an imaginary number. I'd rather have a real number to reflect the hard work, the dedication, and the interest from a real audience. Holy cow. I want to thank everybody, including Abe Troff, for the special super chat. They're up for Abe's, and remember, every dime that comes into Disclosure Tonight goes back into our production fund. We appreciate all the support you have. We are very humbled by your love and support. Thank you very much. It's been a phenomenal week, to say the least. On that note, let's go ahead and take a look at who in the heck we have in the back and see who's with us today. All right, we got Brian Beck. Just wanted to say, great coverage over the weekend, Mr. Fessler. I had a lot of fun in the chat and listening in on the live feed. Welcome, my friend. I appreciate you had a good time here. You're new on the channel. Thanks for coming around. Gary, if you can, give that guy a freaking El Kabong. Why not? He deserves it.
The text is too big on the screen.
What?
The text is too big on the screen.
Which text?
It's cropping off on long messages.
On long messages. Oh, yes, it is. How about that? Jesus. I gotta fix that. Let me do it right. There we go. That about fits. Give or take. A little bit bigger, easier to see, but you are doing the Mr. Wilson look. Wilson? Different kind of a Wilson. Bad boy. All right, let's go ahead now.
Pamela Anderson was the tall time girl, just so you know.
Wilson who?
No, Pamela Anderson was the tall time girl on Home Improvement.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Andy W.
Yes, she was.
Yes. Just getting home from work early, aren't you, Andy? It's like, oh shit, they went live early. I know. You never know where it's going to go. We've got a couple great people in the back. We'll be bringing them out shortly. Let's see who we have in chat first. Anti-large. You know, if there are balloons from China, I don't see some reason. Asked to hide the pictures. Yeah, why would he be hiding the pictures, all the evidence? We're going to find out as time goes on. Electra RC, also known as Zach, is 88 degrees Fahrenheit and 80% humidity. Oh, my God. It's like you're dripping. Holy cow, it's worse than Florida right now. Where is Peggy? Thanks for coming, Electra RC, all the way from down under. Jimmy Jennings, I believe that the military planned this whole thing to discredit the disclosure effort and squeeze the UFO toothpaste back into the tube. No, maybe, like we brought up last night, potentially, this could be a cover-up campaign for that horrible, horrible deadly chemical leak that happened in Ohio that actually has made it to the Ohio River Basin and is making its way down to, yes, the Mississippi River, on its way down to the Gulf of Mexico. We'll see what kind of damage is going to come out of this one. Thank you, President Biden, for overriding the union rail workers' ability to stop this madness and put some controls in place. Are you still feeling good about that? Did your advisors pay you off well enough? Or did they pay Hunter good enough? I don't know. I just am not happy about that whole situation. Supposedly the Blue Party is a party of labor, but when it came down to supporting labor, where were they at? Yeah, where's the crickets? Thor Panchow, good to see you here, my friend. Hey, Zach, you know... Balloons. Anti-large. Good seeing you again. Let's move on with this long list of people who's here. Wildcat Mahone. Welcome to the audience. Good to see you. Mr. Catfish 2100. Yerpity yerp yerp. Happy frickin' Monday to everybody. Hopefully it was a good Monday. It wasn't one of those Mondays that never ended. Outbound flight. Hello, Disclosure family. I'm new here. Welcome to the family, my friend. Good to have you. Enjoy the chat. Fasten your seatbelts. Get ready for a fun time. I tell you, as we are serious sometimes about not being serious, but I digress. Who else do we have out there in the audience this morning? Gray Troll is back, and I did see IR Film. Usually where Gray Troll is at, IR Film is not that far to follow. Great to see you back here again, Gray Troll. It's been a while. I was hoping we didn't lose you under the bus somewhere. Digger Dog is around. Thomas, you have had a busy day. Yes, meeting started at 8 a.m. this morning, all the way until 3, 4 o'clock this afternoon, and it was a fun day, but yeah, 10 videos popped up today. Gary? Actually, 11 if we count the video we're going to be going through today. I was a busy Digger Dog, finding the videos, getting them up there, posting them up on the site. I forget wrapping it, forget putting it all together, making it look nice. Let's get the content out there for everybody to see like you love it. Who else would you look at that? Holy cow, we got another super chat coming in. This one is coming in from Jonathan Horvat saying, welcome aboard, outbound flight. Look at that. It's a super chat, not to me, not to say welcome to everybody. It's to say welcome to people, new people in the audience, new people of the Disclosure Tonight family. I actually did this show a little bit earlier for a lot of you out there who are new to the show. Granted, we just jumped up a bit, but you know what? Let's make it a little bit easier when there's more people out there. Let's have some fun with it, shall we? Thank you very much for that wonderful super chat, Jonathan Horvat. All right, let me just crank that down. little bit, and let's see who else we have out there in the audience today. Man. All right, who else? Jackie Redford, welcome. One could say even lying, potentially about our government. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I would not put that past him. Owen from Ohio. Hello, everyone. I hope this finds you happy and healthy. What? Nothing shot down today? I know. I was talking about that with Wes Decker earlier today, and it's one of those things we have to look at and saying we had all this so many days in a row, and there's nothing now? Really? Either there's nothing or there's something, and they're not telling us about it. You never know where this is going to go. Jackie Redford, welcome again to you, my friend. Who else do we have out there in the audience? Xavier Gamer, I meant Bubble, not Bible. Damn, autocorrect. Well, I missed the first one, so welcome, Xavier. Good to see you around, my friend. You're a long-time subscriber, not a first-time chatter, I'll tell you that. Who else do we have out in the audience today? Juliana McGill, live, already being glitchy. I hope not we're being glitchy. I'm actually broadcasting at half of the usual bit rate that I used to go out at. So let me, if you start seeing it stuttering, thanks for reminding me about that, Julia. If settings would ever pop up, there we go. Go to video output. Let's take it up to 7,500 and see if we survive. Welcome, Julie McGill. Thanks for reminding me about that important step. Who else do we have out there in the audience? Jackie Redford. Bullshit you did. I don't think so. We try to keep it shooting straight as we possibly can. Would you look at that? All the way from Illinois, the headquarters of State Farm Insurance. Jake, not from State Farm, although you're not from Illinois, and State Farm is from Illinois. I may be wrong, but I could be right. You never know. Well, would you look at that? All the way from Florida. It's Peggy with Crockett and Tubbs. Hey, Google, what's the temperature in Florida?
In Miami, it's currently 66 degrees.
Oh, 66 with a high of 73 and low of 57. I'll take that any day over the cool, rainy temperatures we have up here in the Pacific Northwest. Who else do we have out the audience? Let's take a look and see. Jimmy McKillop, Cell Phone Cinema. I remember you over the weekend. How many we shooting down before Friday? I don't know. Maybe we'll get a couple more in. You never know. Andrew Davies, good to see you, my friend. AVM, all the way from India, where it is 7:45 p.m. Oh, God, I was off on IST by an hour for all this time. And he was so nice. He never reminded me and saying, no, Thomas, it's an hour later. Well, we learned. Jasper Remlink, waiting. I know, we got going. I was a minute late, but we're getting there. Jenny Novak, you better believe it. Let's see who else we have out there. Let's see if I can get through this even faster. Paul Murphy, sup peeps, Ant-Man. Good to see you around. You were here earlier today for some of the news videos and other videos were popping up on the stream. I was posting like a banshee today, trying to get out the news for everybody to see. Glad you were there to go ahead and enjoy it. Adam X, Thomas, the Disclosure Phenom. I try to be. Will you get there? Augustus 816, 5.3. No, we can't be. 5.03 maybe. But either way, I'll take it either way. Jackie Redford, oh, my threats. Oh, there's no threats from anybody, trust me. Marcus Mandel, hello, sexy boils and goyles. You better believe it. I'll need to bring out Gary and actually, no, W. Decker, no. By name only. Gary Troll, Great Troll. Troll. Ken Kitchen. Shit is extremely addictive. I know where you're at, especially Abe Trough, who gave us a great super chat. Holy cow. Let's see who else we have in the audience. We're over halfway there. Where's Jan? Jan's usually here by halfway through, but she could have been, thrown off by the earlier start time. She is a farmer. Daniel Bogozowski. Hello, Polish dud from Colorado. Good to see you, Mr. Ski. Yeah, Colorado's got some good things going there. Holy cow. You need to partake in some of the things you can partake with in Colorado. Some psychedelics, I think they're on the menu. I've heard that. I'm not sure if I'm right. I could be wrong. W. Decker is in the chat, and he's in the back. We'll be rolling him out here shortly. Who else we have out in the audience today? Let's take a look and see. Xander. I'll leave it as Xander. Who watched the videos of the guy in Alaska? He filmed from the beginning of what he could see. He could, since the UFO had been shot down. Not sure if I saw that. We did cover one of the sightings we saw of the cylindrical objects. Now remember, if it was a balloon and it was a cylinder, balloons that are cylinders would actually float like this. They wouldn't float like that. So if it was something that was a cylinder and it was in a horizontal orientation, that means a lot more than just a balloon. Remember, the government has come out and said, you doubters out there, not balloons. Not that we can believe the government, but I think we can believe them on that one. Maybe. Edmund 184, glad it's not aliens. Seek God, not ET. True. And we have to make sure that this never, ever turns into another religion. That was a mistake the last several times, and we need to make sure that mistake doesn't happen again this time. We don't need another Messiah. Paul Murphy, I'm hungry. Where be the snacks? Where there be snacks? Well, they should be in the back. We did have cake and pie to go with the coffee, so please have some. I've got my coffee right here. Be sure to pour yourself a cup. Perfect every time. Who else do we have out in the audience today? What do I get for $4.99? Are there drinks? There's always drinks. Go check your refrigerator. Go check your bar. There should be something there. Just remember, everybody, do not stream and drive. Trust me, I know. And if Eli McGinnis is here, you can start pouring drinks for everybody. There we go. Who else do we have out in the audience? Rach Beal is here all the way from across the pond. Good to see you. Was that Brendan Curtis? I wasn't calling him Kriti Banis. Canada says they shot down a metallic party balloon over Lake Huron with a heat-seeking missile. Yes, it was a heat-seeking missile, but it wasn't a missile to go shoot it down. And here's the thing. It wasn't Canada shooting it down. It was the U.S. While it did fall, they actually had to shoot a couple times, and I don't think it takes a couple times to take out a balloon. David Smethurst, finally, I do think after the mention of the RO program by Biden via a press spokesman, we might be at a media pivotal point. Yeah, they're all asking the right questions. Would you look at that? I got a couple super chats that I missed. One coming in, believe it or not, from, let's take a look and see. Yeah, I got a super chat coming in from Paul Murphy for $5 and a penny. Actually, no, not 501. Canadian $2, which is about 2 bits. About 275. Either way, thank you very much. I appreciate that super chat, Paul. Every dollar that comes, it doesn't matter how big or small. We love you all the same. Let's take a look and see. We've got that. And W. Decker gave us another super chat coming in saying, roll me out. Better clear the aisles. More Chinese balloon than Alaska UAP size. Oh, I don't think you're that big, W. Decker. Holy cow. Luke is here. Come on camera, Luke. Oh, Artie's going to jump up and do the dog. Do the digger dog. Let's go. Mr. Catfish 2100 Ratcliffe said one object isn't like the other. That is so true. Oh, there comes Artie. Gotta have some fun with the super chats. Holy cow, let's clear that overlay and get back to the welcome. Holy cow, what a great audience today. What a great show. Now I gotta get back to the bottom. Where the hell was I? Oh, let's see. Amiga rules. Yes. Hi, Thomas. Hi, Atari 520 ST lovers. Yes, Amiga does rule. Talking Surface Monkey about the train derailments. This is what happens when you blow up the pipelines of other countries. They retaliate. Yeah, there's been like a bunch of more rail mistakes that have happened in the last couple of days. I think 2 more now brings us to 3 in a short amount of time. Marcus Mandel, Bible butts galore. I hope not. Tom Frick, not glitching on this site, thank God. Fingers crossed on that one. Renee, I'm not going to go through the long name. Some people are crazy. The government is talking UFOs equals false flag. Or the government says it's only balloons equals the government is lying. But honestly, honestly, has the government ever been really honest with us? No, they haven't been. We'd like them to be honest with us. We'd like to hear the truth, but they're like, oh, you can't handle the truth. Well, we can handle the truth, and we will handle the truth. So stop the lies, stop the misinformation and disinformation. Get someone up there who can actually talk about it. Holy cow, another one has just rolled in. Geezer Prime, I haven't seen you in a while. Holy cow, welcome back, my friend. Holy cow, where is that at again? Got another super chat coming in. If I can get through this open, and then another one. Mick West, be like, ha, balloons. And drops the mic. And Paul Murphy is saying, here's the rest. Now stop complaining. I don't control the value of the dollar. No, just giving you a hard time. Got to have fun with it. Don't worry about it, Paul. You didn't have to throw additional money in the kitty. It's appreciated, but you know what? Let's have some fun and get to the topics on hand. I appreciate all the super chats that come in Disclosure tonight. I am so humbled by everybody's love and support. Let's go ahead and clear that and then get back to where I can get to it, and let's down. We're almost there. Almost there. I think we're almost there. Who else do we have out there in the audience right now? Oh, anyone here from Michigan? Are you from Michigan, Jake from State Farm? It's sounding like it. Brendan Curtis from Toronto, Ontario. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, for some reason, these UFOs want to crash and fall in Canada. It feels like they may get a fair opportunity to deal with stuff. You never know. No buffering from Geezer Prime. Tony C is all the way from Michigan. Bruce Mastiff from Olympia, Washington. Good to see you, Bruce. Yeah, say hello to all the friends in Olympia. All of our elected officials. My goodness. Yeah, it's such a great opportunity. Jenny Novak, welcome. Saying hi to Ant-Man. Patch, Rico, UWU. Perry in Vancouver. What part of the Pacific Northwest are you in? We probably have similar weather. Well, if he's asking Perry, I've lost Perry, but I'm in about 18 miles, 20 miles north, give or take, of downtown Seattle. David Warski, it's a great time to be alive. Beats the alternative. Yes, every day above ground is a good day, no matter what. Outbound flight, do you guys think this is a distraction for the Epstein Island leak? No. I don't think so. Maybe. They followed by Daniel Bogusowski. Yeah, it's bogus. I would not believe that. They are on a menu, Thomas. I did not know that. Holy cow. Crazy wind in Olympia. Yeah, we had some hail earlier today. All hail the hail. Tim Frick, I think we said hello. Rug Ops, good morning. Patrico, did you get to see the asteroid entering over the channel this morning? Well, if you haven't seen it, we've got a video on the channel. We actually uploaded one. Yes, we did it as a short. I'll never do it as a short again because YouTube kind of likes to keep 90% plus of the profits away. It's not fair. Francisco Martinez, hi, how you doing, my friend? Laura Sosa. Who else do we have in the audience? We are almost down to the bottom of the list of everybody, and I think we got there. Ken Kitchen audience is popping, but today, Rug Ops is saying one of the objects is not like the other. You better believe it. Oh, it's already there already. And John Zeitenvogel, good to see you from all the way from Rochester, New York. Laura Sosa, welcome to the audience. On the rocks, in the soil, Michael Godbold. Welcome, Michael. Good to see you. I got lost again. Well, hopefully we can find you. And on that note, let's take a look who we have back in the viewer call. And remember, we're one of the few shows out there who has an open line for viewer calling as a regular basis. And we have some regulars and some people who come in on a not-so-regular basis. Terry Rollins, good to see you. Let's go ahead and see who we have in the back right now. And I think we've got Andy W. is up there. Andy, how the hell are you, my friend?
Hi, Thomas. Yeah, tired. Been a very long day today for me.
You think?
Oh, yeah. I'm on about 17 and a half hours at the moment. Nearly 18. So, yeah. Try not to yawn on camera for you.
Yeah, it's one of those crazy days we just have to go ahead and deal with. And besides you in the back, we also have W. Decker in the back. West, how the hell are you, my friend?
Just rolling in for mile 9.
Rolling in from aisle 9. Hopefully we are far away from the cereal aisle where they keep the Lucky Charms and Fruit Loops. And also, I hope you are far from the bulk foods aisle where they have the, dried fruit and nuts.
Well, nuts, I definitely have some.
Yes.
Just saying.
Got some good ones here. It's always a good day. It's always a good day is always a good day above ground. And of course, we've got good old Gary, who's our producer in the back. Gary, how's your day doing, my friend?
Crap. How's yours?
Did you
That's
sleep
nice.
well?
No, not really.
Again? Not again.
I'm
Oh,
alright
Jan.
I'm alright there. Just nobody piss me off.
Oh, Marsha, huh? You'd want one of those days.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta have some fun with it. If we go ahead and...
Oh, that bloody line.
What?
Gotta have some fun with it.
Oh, we'll be fine. You'll be
No, we
good.
don't have to have fun with it. We can be miserable. Let us be miserable.
Well, some people love to be miserable, and if they're not miserable, they're not happy. Which, then you have to say, are you truly miserable, or are you just happily in misery?
Here's a question I want you to ponder on. You know, like you got these people that say that the aliens are demons, right?
Yeah.
As you can't have one without the other, who are the angels? I think it's Pamela Anderson.
I don't know, but
Her
there's an
new book
easy way to
available
look.
now in all good bookshops.
There is an easy way. Oh, I don't have it here. How can I not have it here? I've got it everywhere.
She's doing a home renovation program now. There's going to be a show where she goes to like her grandmother's like 100 of acres estate and does it up.
It's a 5-acre estate, give or take.
Lots of acres.
And where is it at? I believe it's up on Vancouver Island, isn't it? Up in Canada.
Yes, it is.
And there's another reason why they're doing that show, because they get such a great deal and the tax break for having any kind of television shows up in Canada. That's one of the reasons why, did you know the X-Files actually went up to Canada?
I told you that when we first watched it.
I
told you that when we first watched it.
I know, I'm just saying that's why they went there, because there was a tax break. It made it a lot cheaper to make stuff happen.
That's why Supernatural was filmed there.
Yes, absolutely. On that note, we've got a press conference, a presser we're going to jump into.
Real quick, you forgot Lee's in the back here too.
Oh my God, I forgot he is back there. Lee.
Sue him, Lee.
How
Sue
are
him.
you, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing well. And Pamela Anderson is an angel. Yeah, I'm sure some think so, but yeah. No. Anyway.
She is the queen. She
more
provided
interested-
tools
but
for the tool time crew.
Yeah, I mean, you have hopes and dreams and wishes, but I'm a little more interested in what Andy has to say this evening.
Oh, yeah.
If hopes and wishes were cookies and cream, we'd spread it all over Pamela's chest. Andy, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, yeah, not bad, yeah.
No,
Yeah, interesting times at the moment.
I know, isn't it? I can't wait to get this video.
So what's the over-under on the UK reporting a UAP or balloon or object or craft over the next 2 weeks, Andy? What's your opinion on that?
I think it will happen. I wouldn't be at all surprised. There's nothing going on at the moment. As far as I know, I've been a bit out of it today. I've had other things on my mind. But yeah, we'll be keeping a close eye out over here, I think.
Yeah. Interesting thing to see where all of this is going to head in the next couple days. It's been a crazy week. God, it's been a last crazy 7 days. It's been a crazy weekend. Holy cow. On that note, let's go ahead and see what else we've got going on in the back right now. Let's go ahead, not just that, let's jump across to the desktop Zoom. Let's make this happen. It works. Let's go ahead and bring this down a little bit. Let me, this is still a little bit screwed up from yesterday. All right, bring that down and around. We're almost there. Let's go ahead and get this press conference up and going. We had showed this earlier today, but honestly, I didn't get to watch it. 134 people did get to watch it, so we're going to watch this, pause it as we're going through it, talk about some of the stuff, reflect on it, bring in some polls from the audience, and have a great time like we did all this weekend looking at it. And trust me, I've got 10 plus more news stories that we can cover whenever people are ready as well. On that note, let's go ahead and get this going. I thought I had a trim. There she comes. Right. Hello, hi.
Bless you, and good afternoon.
From the lady who cannot pronounce Canada.
Okay, just have one thing at the top to get us started. President Biden has made clear that the United States is prepared to provide any and all types of aid to the people of Turkey and Syria in response to the ongoing humanitarian crisis there, and we continue to take steps to do so. I'm sure you all saw during the Super Bowl yesterday to donate to earthquake relief efforts, and I want to point out some resources just for that. There's a page on USA AIDS has a list where they have a list of vetted organizations responding to this crisis should individuals want to contribute.
Sorry about this dead
space. You can find that at cidi.org. In Turkey, our urban search and rescue teams continue their efforts assisting in live rescues over the weekend. We also continue to support the Turkish teams on the ground. U.S. military helicopters are providing critical lift for U.S. and international responders. Our teams also continue to conduct structural damage assessments of buildings with the hope of being able to clear as many as possible. To date, they have assessed more than 5,500 buildings, allowing thousands of people who are currently displaced to be able to return home. In Syria, cross-border aid shipments have increased. Yesterday, a fourth UN convoy of 10 trucks from a U.S.-supported humanitarian partner successfully crossed into Syria from Turkey. That brings the total to 52 UN trucks, but more needs to be done. It's critical for the Security Council to authorize 2 additional crossings to help deliver life-saving assistance. We cannot delay any longer. Again, I want to emphasize that any U.S. or international sanctions include exemptions for humanitarian, medical, food, and other aid. And one last thing before I turn it over to the Admiral, I just wanted to make sure we address this from the White House. I know there have been questions and concerns about this, but there is no indication of aliens or extraterrestrial activity with these recent takedowns. Again, there is no indication of aliens or
Exactly. And by the way, who in the next breath said, after she just said it wasn't extraterrestrials, she goes on to say it was not terrestrials. So she pretty much eliminated all forms of life.
Y'all know what purpose she's playing, right? She's actually she's actually the punching bag for the president. She's actually doing her job very well, in my opinion.
You guys couldn't hear me. Sorry about that, folks. Yes, I was muted because I actually had to go clean up a little mess from Cupcake.
She is doing it very well. She is bringing it across in a very human sort of way, unlike some of the other ones before them. It sort of reminds me of The West Wing a lot.
Yeah. But I think it's also
I agree wholeheartely. It's more of a connect to the people, but at the same time, she's running interference because, I mean, honestly, I believe President Joe would have been bumbling and fumbling some things as well. So she's just doing his job.
Yeah.
I think it's actually important to note that to date, the president has not spoken on this at all.
He has not.
Thank you. That's the point. So she is the mouthpiece, and we're getting exactly what it is. I'm just saying, don't be too hard on her. She's capable. She was hired. She's capable.
Yeah.
There's a reason why this seems so disjointed. Stop paying attention to and making fun of her. Pay attention.
We're not. People love her red dress thingy, and I'm not making fun of her. I'm just calling her out for who she is.
What I will say is go ahead, Gary.
Apparently, according to Avi, Samhain was saying how ugly she was earlier on. And let me just say...
She's not ugly.
Yeah, you're no oil painting yourself, sweetie. Sit down.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, she's beautiful. She's got a great hairstyle going. She's got a great look to it. She's very confident. She's really on top of stuff. And, you know, she is such an upgrade from that last bitch we had as the freaking press secretary. I am not going to take any questions from any of you unless you give it to me in writing. And I will only call on you for the questions that I want to hear. She's actually more of a real press secretary from that other freaking hot mess we had before.
I agree. That was my point.
My thing I didn't like was not her.
I think, you know, overall in the audience, a lot of people are commenting on how beautiful and lovely she is. She is. Oh, doesn't matter if she likes the tacos. We love her just as much anyway.
No, it's not her that I'm upset with. It's the press corps who laughs.
Yeah.
That's my point. Like, she's like, guys, come on now. She's qualified. Okay.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Uber qualified.
She was hired because of her sexuality and her color. That's
let's just leave that out of it.
I think there's a brilliant mind behind that, and just because she fumbles through things doesn't. These are hard questions, by the way. This is an uncomfortable position, and you also have to think she might actually be playing a role. Okay, she might have actually had executive direction to be acting this way. Now, I have no proof for that, but I encourage people to see this a different way.
Yeah, but you know what? Our government and our media is incapable of telling the truth anymore. Everything is a narrative.
Well, everything is, they're used to getting direction from the CIA, what to cover, not to cover. That's why there's been so much cover up with regards to the overall chemical spill that's going on in Ohio and how toxic it was, and their idea, let's get rid of this stuff by burning it, and then put so much carcinogens and stuff up in the atmosphere. Yeah, stupid ideas from people who don't have a clue. But on that, let's stop debating about this beautiful woman who's up here to try and talk about this stuff, and let's go ahead and get this conversation going. Here we go.
I think a lot of what's going on is
let's leave this right now. We're going to got a thing going here, Talking Monkey.
Terrestrial activity with these recent takedowns. Wanted to make sure that the American people knew that, all of you knew that, and it was important for us to say that from here because we've been hearing a lot about it. I'm not. Would you tell us? I'm just, you know, I loved E.T. the movie, but I'm just going to leave it there. With that, with all seriousness, I know there's a lot of questions about the flying objects. Admiral John Kirby is here with us today, and he's going to have a couple things to say at the top about it, and then take your questions, okay?
Really quick, my apologies for missing the super chat. We had a bit of conversation going, coming in from B Money 850. Hey guys, checking in from Florida. I enjoyed your show last night. Keep doing your thing, Thomas. Thank you very much. I appreciate your love and support for this. And without any further delay, let me get this going.
Thanks for clearing that up. It makes my job easier. I do have quite a few comments here at the top, so I do hope that you'll just bear with me and then be happy to take whatever questions you might have. So I'd like to begin today by updating you on our efforts to recover the debris of several objects that the United States Air Force shot down over the last few days, as well as that of the spy balloon belonging to the People's Republic of China. And I'd like to put into some context for you how we have worked and are still working to better understand the issue of high-altitude, low-speed craft. Now let me start with the Chinese program. When President Biden came into office, he directed the U.S. intelligence community to do a broad assessment of Chinese intelligence capabilities and to ensure that we were working to detect and to protect against them. I think for reasons that you will all understand, we cannot publicly go into many details about how we discover and counteract foreign intelligence collection efforts, because much of what we have done and are doing is, of course, sensitive. But
yeah, and I just want to add this in really quick. I'll be making a couple little comments on this. It's really sensitive because they've been filtering the data that's being seen by all the people who are manning all of our radar operations to understand what's going on. There's a secretive layer of data that they've been keeping from the people who should be keeping the eyes on what's going on by our country. That's the real problem that he's not going to address.
we were able to determine that China has a high-altitude balloon program for intelligence collection that's connected to the People's Liberation Army. It was operating during the previous administration, but they did not detect it. We detected it. We tracked it. And we have been carefully studying it to learn as much as we can. We know that these PRC surveillance...
And here's the thing. We're talking about the Department of Defense. The Department of Defense is something that maintains and goes on from administration to administration. So to say we didn't do it back then, we didn't look at it, we didn't see it, but we did it in this administration. The DOD operates out of sync of who's in the White House. There may be some little leadership changes from puppet-pointed positions to be up there and be the marionette up on the stage to go ahead and put out the lay of the land of where we're going. But the reality of it is, it was due to censored signal intelligence of what's going on. Again, keeping all the information away from the people. This is not partisan. This is a failure of the DOD that Lou Elizondo has been talking about since 2017.
Agreed.
Have crossed over dozens of countries on multiple.
It's also important to state that these positions exist and endure even throughout administrations.
Yeah, that's very true. That's why I'm saying it's separate. The DOD continues on. It's not like they clear house of the entire DOD every time there's a presidential change. No, it's an organization. It has policies. It's a machine that's running on its own beat, its own pulse, its own directives. Granted, there may be some priorities put in play by the governments. Realistically, it's a pretty autonomous part of the government.
Continents around the world, including some of our closest allies and partners. We assessed that at this time, these balloons have provided limited additive capabilities to the PRC's other intelligence platforms used over the United States. But in the future, if the PRC continues to advance this technology, it certainly could become more valuable to them. The President also instructed the intelligence community to take a broad look at the phenomenon of unidentified aerial objects. Indeed, President Biden conducted the first ever daily intelligence briefing session devoted to this phenomenon back in June of 2021. He was briefed that this is not just an issue for the United States, but one for the rest of the world. And as I said, our friends and our partners are dealing with this as well. We worked on a bipartisan basis to stand up an office at the Pentagon to study this, in partnership with the intelligence community, academic institutions, and the private sector. These unidentified aerial phenomena have been reported for many years without explanation or deep examination by the government.
What was that? What did he just say again? Did he just say these unidentified aerial phenomenon have been reported for many years by the government?
And I think he also said without explanation.
Right.
Oh yeah, they acknowledge more and more that this is a ongoing issue.
Yeah, they said the previous administration wasn't doing anything about it, but they kind of knew it. They kind of blew it off.
That's political speak.
I didn't hear about him. They didn't mention anything about it blowing off, sir.
Yeah, he said without. Play it back, Thomas.
I can't jump all the way back to that at this point.
Yeah,
it's going to be a pain in the ass to be able to get to it.
Without. We heard without.
Yeah. Right. They were only so far going along with it. Did they have recommendations and say, hey, we should be looking at signals intelligence for here? Did they bring it to them and say, no, we shouldn't? That's different. Versus the organization should own their own failures. Versus trying to pass it off on something else.
Ultimately, this is because isn't this all kind of because of what Lou and them kind of did? That's why they're doing this stuff now, because they're looking into it.
Well, it's because of Congress and Lou and everything else. Absolutely, you've got your finger on the right button there, buddy. Let's play this.
Biden has changed all that. We are finally trying to understand them better. Now, in light of the Chinese balloon program and this recent incursion into our airspace, the United States and Canada, through NORAD, have been more closely scrutinizing that airspace, including enhancing our radar capabilities, which, as the commander of Northcom and NORAD, General Van Herk said just last night, may at least partially explain the increase in the objects that have been detected.
No, but what we heard last night was that their signals were being filtered, coming from the generals, didn't we?
Yep, and that they have altered their settings.
Yes, exactly. So, again, we're hearing the fairy tale version of the facts. So, government mouthpiece, continue.
Slow-moving objects at high altitude with a small radar cross-section are difficult to detect on radar. Even objects the size of the Chinese spy balloon, which had a payload the size of roughly 3 school buses, were not picked up by previous administrations or other countries.
Well, it's not that they weren't picked up. It's that they weren't acknowledged because their signal was being picked up, but their signal was being filtered. So stop blaming prior administrations. You have the technology and the ability and the ability to give guidance on what should or should not be looked at.
I would also add it's not a matter of the signal not being picked up. They have a feed of the signal. It's how they looked back in time to see under the previous administration that there were other things that came across.
I want to look back further in time. Hey, hold on, Syrup. Don't talk over me, please. It's one of those things you have to go ahead and take a look at for the situation. We have to go ahead and say, what administration specifically put that in place that the DOD started filtering the data that was being presented to all the people in the FAA and the government?
That's a fabulous question, and I wish somebody would ask it.
Right, and that's what we need to get at. Forget what happened to the previous administration. This went on at a certain time, when and who. That would be the answer that I would like to get. Syrup, really quick before we continue on.
I was just saying, didn't they recently build something specific on the East Coast or something to try to capture and study these UAP too? Maybe they just got that up and running.
There's some stuff down in Florida that I know Jeff Robert Blast had talked about in the past, but that was the first region that those new radar systems were being put into play. I need to reach out to them again and find info about that.
Syrup, I'll add, just before you go back, Thomas, I'm sorry, Syrup, I'll add, they were very quick to point out that they could go back through the data and prove the previous administration that it happened over this time period. So we're talking up to 7 years. Okay.
Yeah. And the data is there, but it was filtered for the people who are seeing it. That's the real problem.
We also know that a range of entities, including countries, companies, research, and academic organizations, operate objects at these altitudes for purposes that are not nefarious at all, including scientific research. That said, because we have not yet been able to definitively assess what these most recent objects are, we acted out of an abundance of caution to protect the security, our interest, and flight safety. In Saturday's case, we acted in consultation with the Canadian government, the President speaking personally with Prime Minister Trudeau. The spy balloon was, of course, different because we knew precisely where that was. As we have said, we do not assess that these most recent objects posed any direct threat to people on the ground, and we are laser focused on confirming their nature and purpose, including through intensive efforts to collect debris in the remote locations where they have fallen. In each instance, we have followed the same basic course. We assessed whether they posed any kinetic threat to people on the ground. They did not. We assessed whether they were sending any communication signals. We detected none. We looked to see whether they were maneuvering or had any propulsion capabilities. We saw no signs of that. And we made sure.
So, they saw craft, but they couldn't detect the communications they were making, and they couldn't figure out the propulsion system based on the technology that they have. And if there's electronics in those craft, our surveillance can pick it up. They had AWACS out there looking at this stuff.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So again, they have a lot more information. They're going to act like we don't know, but the reality of it is they know.
I think it's important to mention that there's information that may seem innocuous to the lay public, but Thomas and I were discussing earlier that Sean Cahill today was talking about how the orientation of the cylinder tells us a whole lot. If it's horizontal and not vertical, then that's a good indication it's not a balloon, because a balloon without
it's going to be
ballast,
like this, moving around.
Exactly.
If it's like this, there's something stabilizing it. Let's
Exactly.
continue on with this clip here. Yeah, thanks for your feedback, West.
Determine whether or not they were manned. They were not. We did, however, assess that their altitudes were considerably lower than the Chinese high-altitude balloon and did pose a threat to civilian commercial air traffic. And while we have no specific reason to suspect that they were conducting surveillance of any kind, we couldn't rule that out. That is why the President, at the recommendation of the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the NORTHCOM NORAD commander, gave the order to shoot them down. These missions were completed successfully.
Right, but the one in Canada, we have to step back. There were ones that were over Canada that we went up there and we took down, but it wasn't based on their decision. That was based on Justin Trudeau's decision, right, guys?
It was a joint decision between Justin and Biden, according to
It's like we have to keep the guy honest for what they're saying.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Wow. Yeah, let's continue on.
And safely. Efforts are actively underway right now at all sites to find what is left of those objects so that we can better understand and communicate with the American people what they are. I think it's important to remind the objects in Alaska and Canada are in pretty remote terrain. Ice and wilderness, all of that making it difficult to find them in winter weather. The object over Lake Huron now lies in what is probably very deep water. So outside of recovery operations, what are we doing? Well, first, we are continuing to monitor. There are no active tracks today, but the professionals at NORAD will continue to do their important work. Secondly, we are consulting with allies and partners on the challenge of identified aerial phenomenon and how we can all work together to deal with that challenge. The President has directed the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, and the Director of National Intelligence to engage with their relevant counterparts to share information and to try to gain their perspectives as well. Again, this is an issue that affects everybody around the world. Third, we will continue to brief members of Congress and relevant state leadership on what we are doing.
This affects everybody around the world.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
Yeah. So they're going to take the filters off. Remember, our, if you want to call it signals intelligence, has the ability to pick up anything from the size of a grapefruit or larger, from ground level to beyond the moon. We have the ability to see this. Again, it's just been the data has been filtered and that information has been taken away from our eyes on the sky because of their desire to keep it covered up and to make sure people only see what they really need to. There's a stuff out there that they don't need to have and they hide it. And that's where God is here.
And what we learned. The President has made this a very top priority. We have, over the course of just the last few days, and certainly over the course of last week, reached out to inform and brief members of Congress and relevant state governors of the operations that we were conducting and of the recovery operations that are underway. We've also kept Congress briefed generally on this issue of Chinese surveillance balloons, including classified briefings last August. And last week, administration officials provided classified briefings for all senators and all members of the House of Representatives on the PRC surveillance balloon. We fully expect and anticipate and support the ability to continue these briefings in the days ahead. And fourth, the President, through his National Security Advisor, has today directed an interagency team to study the broader policy implications for detection, analysis, and disposition of unidentified aerial objects that pose either safety or security risks.
Whoa, wait a minute. There's a new interagency team who's going to go work on this. Wait a minute. Isn't that what RO is supposed to be, West?
Yeah, listening to him say that again, I realized what just happened is before that was a congressional mandate. Now this is coming from the executive branch. And these groups that the congressional mandate has been trying to wrangle are executive branch people. So it sounds like the president is finally taking action.
It's coming from the branch of the government that's been covering it up for all this time and saying,
exactly.
Oh shit, they're getting close. We need to go ahead and act like that we don't know anything and start asking some questions, of which we're still gonna push back on the answers. So
hey, one other thing real quick, Thomas. If you noticed, he gave some excuses for, it's in the icy area of Alaska, it's in the woods of Canada, it's in the deep waters of Lake Huron. They have a limited amount of time that they are trying to extend out as long as possible to buy time for them to figure this out. But people are not going to take many excuses for much longer. So I heard some analysis today calling this out, saying the government basically has just a matter of days before they're going to have to start talking.
Well, I certainly hope so. They should be, because they have a lot of explaining to do. Lucy, you got some explaining to do, but seriously, that's where we're at right now. And it's when we get to the questions, that's the part that this is just his pomp and stand. So let's get to the questions. That's where it really starts to get nice.
Every element of the government will redouble their efforts to understand and mitigate these events. And I'm happy to take some questions.
John, if the objects don't pose a military threat and they don't pose a threat to anybody on the ground, why shoot them down? Particularly because the military is routinely monitoring radar blips and such.
I kind of covered that in the opening statement. Two real reasons here. First, there was a very real potential risk to civilian air traffic. The one shot down on yesterday, was about 20,000 feet. And the two shot down Friday and Saturday were at about 40,000 feet. And as you know, transcontinental air traffic is roughly around 30,000 feet. It depends, of course, on weather. And so because we assessed that they weren't manned and weren't being controlled, therefore left to atmospheric conditions, the real risk to safety of flight was a problem. The second purpose, and I talked about this earlier too, was even though we had no indications that any of these three objects were surveilling, we couldn't rule that out. And so you want to err on the side of safety here in terms of protecting our national security interests, and the fact that these objects could have and likely did at some point in their path transit over potential military sites of ours or sensitive sites. So again, out of an abundance of caution for those two reasons, the president, with the recommendation of his military leaders, directed them to be taken down.
Because
really quick, Service Monkey, you've got a quick comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I doubt that these are our advanced neighbors. We have to remember, that these crafts have been flying around in our skies since the prehistoric times.
Well, it depends on if some of the craft were from China and they were mimicking the radar signature and the properties of a UAP, or are they from a UAP? And if they're from a UAP, I'll take it a step farther and say they predate humanity.
Right. Another thing, remember what Fravor said, when he encountered the Tic Tac, that the Tic Tacs were able to show up at their next waypoints or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So they can read our minds. They definitely have much more advanced technology. So I think these crafts have to be something from another country, I believe.
Or you've got something that's putting some craft up there to be sacrificial. Go ahead. We're going to sit there. Take us out. Go ahead.
Yeah, or if this could be a part of a program to acclimate the people to get used to the fact that we have that we have crafts in the sky. But yeah, I don't think that these are actually our advanced neighbors.
We're going to find out, maybe, but as long as the conversation moves forward and we start dealing with more than this, because we know these things are over our military bases, over our ships on a daily basis, so they can't keep on looking away from it to say we're going to enforce it here, but we're not going to enforce it anywhere else.
Do we have new weapon systems that can, suddenly take these guys out?
No.
I don't.
Oh, hell
so.
no. Let's go ahead and continue on.
So unprecedented. Should the public be hearing from the president directly on this?
We have been, I think, as transparent as we can be. I won't speak for the president's personal speaking schedule, but I mean, he has been deeply engaged in every one of these decisions. He's been kept informed, including as of this morning, on what's going on with recovery efforts, and he's very much staying on top of the issue and directing his team to make sure we are properly consulting and briefing not just members of Congress but state leaders as well. And of course, you know, we're also doing what we can in the public sphere.
Can you get the European countries?
Wait a second, sir. Excuse me. Thank you, John.
What is the president's standard going to be going forward about when he orders an unidentified object shot down?
It comes down to one simple formulation, and that's if at the recommendation of his military leaders he believes that the safety and security of the United States, the safety and security of the American people, his prime responsibility, warrant that kind of a decision.
So it's possible we could see these shoot downs on a regular basis like we saw over the weekend?
I don't think it's useful for me to get ahead of where we are right now. The president will always side on preserving and protecting the safety and security of the American people.
You said we're not flying any surveillance balloons over China. Are we flying any other kind of surveillance craft routinely over China?
We are not flying surveillance balloons over China. I'm not aware of any other craft that we're flying over into Chinese airspace.
And then finally, can you tell us anything more about this octagonal object? How big was it?
We're still trying to assess what that was. I'm not going to get into a description. I've seen the press reports about what it looked like. I think we all need to be humble here.
Oh, you don't want to talk about the shape that one looked like a cylinder and another one looked like an octagon. Or octagonal in shape, which could mean 8 sides, which is basically like 2 pyramids on top, stacked on top of each other. Otherwise, you'd say it'd be like an octagon in profile. Just imagine, like basically like a stop sign, but it's thicker than that going along with it. Would you look at that? No way. Really? Holy cow!
Professional.
Yeah, space
professional wire.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to quickly thank Spaced Out Radio for a super chat that just came in right now. Holy cow. Yeah, it's playing. I want to thank Dave for that. Holy cow. Mick from Australia has meaty toes. Well, yeah, he might. But yeah, anyway. You've got a great haircut, Dave. I got to give you that. Very unique. I like how it looks on you. On that note, I want to go back and remember everybody out. Thanks for the super chat, Dave from Spaced Out Radio. Remember, it's a great place to hang out after Disclosure tonight. Let's go ahead and continue this video.
In terms of what our ability is to positively identify stuff from fighter aircraft that are going several hundred miles an hour past, essentially, in terms of relative motion, a stationary object that was not very big. So we don't know what this exactly looked like, and again, we're still not.
So, what's the best guess? Tell us what the pilots thought they saw. Now, yesterday they said the pilots were flying up alongside the object. Now we're hearing they're saying, oh, we had to have it move past something that was essentially a stationary object. Either way, pilots have good sets of eyes. What did they say? We don't have to have an exact answer.
Sure exactly what the purpose of it was or who owned it, but we hope to be able to find out more once we can recover the debris from that one and from the other two as well.
And if it was moving so slow, why did they have to take fighter jets up to take it down? Why couldn't they have taken a helicopter with a freaking butterfly net? You know, go out and grab the thing.
Yeah. I want to see that.
You know, what the heck?
That's all about the gun camera footage. Honestly, I mean, they want video that they're not going to share with us. Yeah. And it's okay. That's DoD video. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's continue on.
A few minutes ago, Prime Minister Trudeau said that there's some sort of pattern to the objects over the last few days. Is that something you could elaborate on, what sort of pattern the White House has seen?
I'm not familiar with the Prime Minister's comments, so I don't know if I should take a swing at that. I would just tell you that, going back to what I said before, these objects were not being maneuvered. They did not appear to have any self-propulsion. So the likely hypothesis is that they were being moved by the prevailing winds. And maybe perhaps that's what the Prime Minister's talking about.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, prevailing winds, and this time of year we've got a dip going with the what do you call it, with the overall jet stream at this point in time. You're not going to see something move directly across from Montana and move straight across the line to Lake Huron. There's going to be some drift north and south. You're not going to have it. You know what I mean, West? Or Larry or anybody?
Yeah, no, I was looking at the winds earlier today. Unfortunately, I couldn't rewind back to Sunday to double check, but it's a very improbable course at that altitude at 20,000 feet.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you.
Can I ask for Larry to weigh in, please?
Sure.
He wanted to know, LM wanted to know why I said I knew this was going to happen. I'm just cynical because, these guys have a history of lying to us. And so what I thought was going to happen, and I think it is happening, is that they're not going to give us the wreckage. They're not going to let us see what this stuff is, and they're going to lie about it until they're good and ready, until they have a good story.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Yeah,
I kind of agree with you, Larry. I do. I kind of agree with you.
They're busy digging up old weather balloons to pull out and show us like they did in 1947.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and continue on and see where this goes.
I don't want to speak for him, but certainly as the prevailing winds, particularly at that altitude, go west to east across the North American airspace, I mean, there was a general common movement in that regard.
You spoke at the top about kind of reassessing radar given what happened with the initial balloon. Can you give us a sense, can we expect, should we assume that this is the regular number of these objects over the United States, that they've always been there and they just haven't been looked at the same way? Or is there any reason to expect that this is more than usual that are flying over?
So two thoughts there. I mean, I think we can all get our heads around the fact that there are sometimes things floating at high altitudes for various purposes. As I said, scientific research, weather balloons, all manner of innocuous craft can be aloft at high altitudes. I don't think that that's necessarily unusual here. It's difficult for me to say exactly what you can expect going forward. One of the reasons that we think we're seeing more is because we're looking for more. As you heard General Van Herk mention last night, they have modified the filters and the gains, as we call it, of the radar capabilities to look more discreetly at high altitude, small radar cross section, and low speed objects. And so if you do that, anybody that's operated a radar will know you can set the parameters, and if you set the parameters in such a way that to look for a certain something, it's more likely that you're going to find a certain something.
Oh, no. In other words, I think what he's saying is if you filter it a different way, all these other objects that could potentially be there, you're not going to see. And something
Thomas, he didn't say objects, he said innocuous craft.
Yeah.
Which that's the third noun, or how they want to put it this way. And by the way, guys, pay attention to when he says craft again.
All right. We'll watch for it.
Given all you've discussed here and the actions the administration is taking and what people have learned, Chinese spy balloon this year and previous years, these unidentified objects that we shoot down, they might have a question. When it comes to these higher altitudes, are America's borders secure?
The president takes, as I said earlier, he takes...
Remember, that was a yes or no question. Oh, shit.
The effort to take a look.
One.
Deuce.
Dang it.
Was it emitting signals back?
I'm not going to
clicked on the.
I mean, I think I think we can all get our heads around the fact that there are
I need to double
sometimes.
check this. Where the hell was that? Was just at when I clicked the button there a second ago. Sorry about
Yeah.
that, folks.
You went in the way back on there. Yeah.
All right. Let me just get this to live. Take it on a different screen so I can see it larger here. Let me get back to where we were at. Go back. Oh, and it's blocked. Oh, well, I'm going to guess. We'll go here. Tell me if this is the right place or not.
They have modified the filters
This is it.
and the gains, as we call it, of the radar capabilities to look more discreetly at high altitude, small radar cross section, and low speed objects. And so if you do that, anybody that's operated a radar will know you can set the parameters, and if you set the parameters in such a way that to look for a certain something, it's more likely that you're going to find a certain something.
Given all you've discussed here and the actions the administration is taking and what people have learned, Chinese spy balloon this year and previous years, these unidentified objects that we shoot down, they might have a question. When it comes to these higher altitudes, are America's borders secure?
The president takes, as I said earlier, he takes our national security extremely seriously. He has no higher responsibility than the safety and security of the American people. And I don't think you need to look any further, quite frankly, than the decisions he's made in just the last week to 10 days to evidence that.
But it feels like he's plugging holes. Like these are vulnerabilities that we are discovering in real time.
You're making an assumption there that I don't know that the analysis will actually bear out.
Bullshit.
Thank you very much.
Okay, pause. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I just couldn't help but call it out. Bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit, absolutely. I will say that way. And right quick, as we call bullshit on this thing, I want to reach out and say thank you to Geezer Prime for the super chat he just threw our way. Holy cow, I love how congressional hearings and mandated UFO reports didn't prompt them to look for them before. What the fuck? We aren't idiots. I know. They've known about it. It's bullshit. They purposely filtered this data, and it's obvious. The more we watch this, the more obvious it becomes. Thank you for that wonderful super chat, Geezer Prime. Let's get back to this.
The president gave the order to shoot down the object over Lake Huron yesterday. Where was he? What kind of information did he have when he gave that order? What was briefed to him? And how did he anticipate the outcome of that?
He was here in the White House. He was kept constantly informed by his national security team and certainly by the military. He made that decision. I couldn't give you the exact time on the clock, but it was, I believe, mid to late morning, and then it was executed in the afternoon.
Were there contingencies in place in case there was a reaction from a foreign government in reaction to shooting that object down? Was the president anticipating the one yesterday? Yeah.
Well, it was shot over. I mean, it was shot over Lake Huron and landed in what we believe to be the Canadian side of the lake. So we were obviously in constant communication and consultation with our Canadian counterparts, and they are rightly, because of where we think it splashed down. I mean, they're sort of in concert with the U.S. Coast Guard, but they are also involved in trying to locate the debris right now. But there was good communication with our Canadian allies.
Signs of a foreign government taking a special interest in that object from yesterday?
No.
Or reacting in an unusual way?
No.
Good. Let's be in the back.
Thanks. John, two questions. One, you mentioned early on that the China balloon might have been giving limited additive capabilities. I assume you're meaning onto their satellite surveillance. Can you specify what exactly it's getting from a balloon that they're not getting from orbiting satellites that go over us like dozens of times?
With the caveat that we haven't fully recovered everything, though we have recovered some things from the bottom of the Atlantic, and we're analyzing that. But with that caveat that we don't know exactly what this balloon was surveilling or what its capabilities were. So just in general, and that is an important caveat that I'd like you to remember. When you are at a lower altitude than space, you could perhaps get a better fidelity of imagery, for instance, of things on the ground. when you are not moving at the speed of a satellite, and therefore, only getting seconds over a site, when you can maneuver left, right, slow down, speed up, like this thing could, then you can loiter. If you can loiter, you can soak in a little bit more. You can spend more time over a sensitive site.
Some of their satellites are in geostationary orbit. I mean, they're just sitting.
Before we get to that really quick, talking Spider Monkey, you've had your hand up there for a little bit.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, remember Donna Hare in one of her interviews, I think it was during the Disclosure Project, she said that on Warner Braun Bond's deathbed, he had warned her about how the government was going to escalate the terrorist threat. And then after the terrorist threat, it was going to be, I think, aliens, I recall. So could this be a pretext to our government trying to get us into World War III with either Russia or China?
Yeah, I think it's the last thing we want to do is get into a world war at this point.
Well, I would say at that time, neither Russia or China. Well, I would say Russia was a perceived threat, but China at that time was on the radar, but not a perceived threat. So unless he was privy to something that none of us know, which is a possibility, that's a hard call.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, but geopolitics change more frequently than people realize. So, but yeah, I think he was onto something, but I can't necessarily say he pegged that one.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, and I'm also at the same time kind of like, no, we'll see.
Larry, last comment before we continue on.
I think that they are itching to go to war with China, and the reason is because China and Russia are shaking hands and making plans, and I think that scares the United States, and they want to do something about it. So
yeah, I don't think we want to race into anything like that at this point in time.
I don't think we're going to rush into it, but I certainly sense the war drums beating again.
Well, they've said we can see there's going to be war between the United States and Russia and China by 2025. So this is what's heading that way. We'll find out.
They're just sitting there gathering signals intelligence, right? So what is the benefit? I mean, is it just to see what kind of fidelity?
We're going to learn more. I'd rather not go into any more detail than that right now. We're going to learn more. And frankly, I think that's a terrific question you should be asking Beijing.
And one last one. You said that the other objects shot down were not able to transmit, or were not transmitting signals, that they did not have any propulsion. Did the China balloon, did that have any, was it emitting signals back?
I'm not going to go into more.
Really quick, they didn't detect any signals, not to say that there weren't any signals going off the craft.
Detail about the capabilities of that. We are going to be studying it and analyzing it. There is no question in our minds that system was designed to surveil, that was an intelligence asset. I'll leave it there.
It sounds honest.
Has there been any outreach from anywhere in the administration to the kinds of companies that produce
I agree, Larry.
weather balloons or other craft that would fit these descriptions that might be from the commercial or corporate world to say, is this yours, or any kind of outreach? Or have you been hearing from anyone who might say, we have ours, they're in this area? Is any of that going on now?
I don't know of any conversations right now, Kelly, but one of the reasons why the president directed Mr. Sullivan to put together an interagency effort is to take a long look at that and try to learn a little bit better about who is up at that altitude doing what for completely legitimate purposes. I think we all recognize we need to probably have a better sight picture on that, and that's why the president wants this interagency effort to take a look.
And what kind of intelligence might be happening in terms of the diplomacy that's going on or whatever, if these are state-owned objects?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
Is there a network of conversations that might be happening where someone might be able to say, based on this octagonal description, that, hey, that sounds like the so-and-so? I mean, is there some conversations that are happening that might be able to give us some descriptions?
I mean, the short answer to your question is yes, and I talked about that in my opening statement. The president also directed Secretary Blinken, Secretary Austin, Director Haynes, to have these kinds of conversations with our allies and partners around the world, to share with them what we're learning, but also to get their perspectives.
We're quick to say it's ours.
Oh, we're back to asking questions. Hey, do you guys have things that are flying through your air that you don't know how to go ahead and deal with? This is the same stuff we were doing back in the 50s and being secretive. Out front, we're telling everybody, we don't believe in this stuff. This isn't real. You're a bunch of crazy people. But behind the scenes, they're going around to everyone around the world saying, what do you see? What do you see? What do you see? This is all facts that came out from the Australian UFO report that we covered a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point, Thomas.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, again, we're going to have those kinds of conversations with our allies and partners to see what kind of experiences that they have had, what we can learn from them, what perhaps they can learn from us.
And are we still with object, or can we call them balloons?
Still with object.
And just to follow up on Kelly's question,
and I won't mess that up today.
On the corporate angle, is there any expectation that this is going to affect the executive order on surveilling the U.S. companies and what they're doing in China and their
I know of no
operations
such
there?
change to that executive order.
Okay, and then is there, and just you said a moment ago that there's no knowledge of a U.S. balloon or other craft over Chinese territory, just being cognizant of the fact that China has a different definition of what their territory is than the United States. Is there any U.S. surveillance aircraft over Taiwan, over the South China Sea that would fit into that?
There is no U.S. surveillance aircraft over Chinese in Chinese airspace.
Okay, even Chinese claimed airspace.
There is no U.S. surveillance aircraft in Chinese airspace.
Okay, and then just finally, is there any new formal approach that's being developed as far as how you're going to deal with these things on a systematic basis going forward? Is there a
Well,
review?
again, that's exactly what the president wants Mr. Sullivan to run as a process, an interagency process, to help us, as I said in my opening statement, get around the policy implications here, and whether or not there needs to be any policy changes going forward.
Thanks, Sean. There's no precedent for U.S. fighters taking down objects over U.S. territory, as far as I'm aware of. I guess my question is, you talked about the tweak in the radar systems.
Yeah.
Has there been a tweak in the threshold for the Pentagon presenting to the president signing off on military action related to anything over our airspace?
I'm not sure I'm following what you mean.
In the wake of the Chinese spy balloon,
Yeah.
the radars were tweaked, which is why you think you're seeing some of these things.
Right.
Has the decision about, or has the threshold for the use of fighters to take down objects also been tweaked? Has it been lowered? Has it been changed? We've never seen this before. All of a sudden we've seen three
actually,
days.
I'm sorry I didn't understand it at first. No, I mean, and you heard General Van Herk talk about this last night. He's using established protocols to engage craft in the air, aircraft in the air, that can be legitimately brought down. And as he said last night, the best way to do that, certainly in a timely and efficient, effective way, was through fighter aircraft and through the Sidewinder air-to-air missiles. And they looked at, and he talked about this, they looked at other options to try to bring them down, to include gunfire, but that would have presented a greater risk to the pilots
But
themselves.
if they're just floating
So this was
along,
the safest, most
stationary,
effective way to do that.
get out a
Now,
freaking butterfly net.
where we go from here, I think we just don't know right now in terms of whether there needs to be threshold changes, as you put out. I think it's important to just take a step back here and remember.
Come on, if an old drunk radio announcer for the Cubs or for the White Sox, Harry actually probably in the White Sox, he'd have a freaking fishnet up there, and then when there'd be a foul ball, he'd be like diving out the freaking announcer's box trying to catch it. And he did catch it sometimes. Got to give it to the guy. It's a hilarious scene, but that's all. If it's slow moving and it's just kind of there, fucking catch it.
We need a whole new military. This, instead of the Space Corps, we need the Butterfly Net Corps.
He looks so excited about that.
He just commented that they decided that the missiles were a safer option for the pilots. That's an expensive, safer option.
Yeah, it is.
Well, and actually, he didn't say that last night. The general said that he left it up to the pilots, and the pilots determined that there was not a good way for them to shoot it with bullets because they have to get too close and they might collide.
Well, West, but also at the same time, the Sidewinders that they shot at them did not have explosive ordnance on them.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it's like a big bullet.
Yeah. No. Agreed. A big bullet with a heat-seeking or a IR camera that can lock up.
Yeah. That can track things. So like a bullet with ability to track. So people need to.
Fucking God! You got to be fucking kidding me.
They shot a missile that had no explosive ordnance on it that was meant to pierce. They chose not to shoot rounds of ammunition because it was a danger to the other planes that were flying surveillance around it to capture video to understand. So guys, understand, like they're flying, they don't go up with one plane alone.
All right, guys.
So
yeah.
So they're flying another plane around, and while it is in its trajectory, there is a long curve plane that's shooting around it to get constant visual on it. So they're not going to fire bullets because that's dangerous. So they fire a missile, and everybody thinks explosion, right? No. It was not an explosive ordnance. It was a missile that had no explosion to it.
Well, do we know that about the other three? We know that about the Chinese balloon one, but do we know that about the other three?
I wouldn't say that we know that, but I think we have to rest upon what they're doing with SOP and policy here, West. I don't know. The answer, you're right. That's a great question.
There's 3 missiles sitting out there somewhere for you to go and find as well.
Well, I heard that the missile self-destructs after it explodes on the target, after it pierces the target, because otherwise it would do damage to something on the ground.
That's correct, but I don't think it was a live ordnance on target, Larry. I don't know that for fact, but I think they shot a very large missile to pierce it.
We do. I mean, you're right for sure about the one that hit the Chinese balloon. I know for a fact that one they removed the charge from to do just like you said, to make it a giant piercing. But I don't know if the other 3 were that way.
I bet they were.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, let's move on, please. We're killing the audience here. Let's move on.
The president did was ordered these actions with the safety and security of the American people foremost in his mind, and there were very good reasons to do it. The military then, once given an order, determines how they're going to execute that order. General Van Herk decided that the best way to do this was with Sidewinder missiles and fighter aircraft.
And just to quickly put a sharper point on it, this isn't reactive to the Chinese spy balloon in the sense of there was political pressure, and so we are going to act quickly to take down any objects over our airspace because of the pressure that came from, say, Republic.
These were decisions based purely and simply on what was in the best interest of the American people.
Thanks, John. John, does the U.S. government have video or imagery of these latest intercepts, and will you guys be releasing it?
You'd have to talk to DOD about that, Jackie. I don't know what kind of imagery might exist, and they'd be the ones to talk about whether they're releasable or not. Obviously, certainly with respect to the spy balloon, we want to make sure that we are gleaning what we can from this imagery so that we can answer your questions better. And so to what degree there is or will or will not be public release, I do want to stress that we're going to want to make sure that we have had a chance to analyze that imagery for ourselves as much as possible.
Following up on Phil's question, I mean, I guess what we're trying to discern is, you said earlier, we're looking for these more, so we're finding more. And
I said that could be one reason why we're finding more.
One reason, but what we're getting at is, why are we all of a sudden shooting them down? And to add to that, the NORAD commander, for instance, said that when the first spy balloon was crossing over American and Canadian airspace, one of the reasons that he couldn't take action was because his assessment was that it didn't pose a military threat or have hostile intent, and so he couldn't take action there. It seems like maybe that protocol has changed, or his ability to make that call where there is not an imminent threat militarily or physically might have changed. So can you explain to us what changed? Why are we shooting them down all of a sudden?
I kind of feel like I took care of that in my opening statement, but I'm happy to revisit it. I mean, really 2 reasons here. And these are certainly in both cases they're different. I mean, I think we need to separate the Chinese spy balloon. We knew what it was. We knew where it was going. We knew what it was trying to do. And by not taking it down, I mean, it was also a huge payload. Like I said, the size of 3 school buses. So really the option of shooting that down over land wasn't a legitimate option because somebody really could have gotten hurt. And we used the time available to us, knowing what this thing was all about. We used that time to study it, to learn from it, to collect on it. Then taking it down at the earliest opportunity in the water. And we have retrieved some of that debris off the bottom, and we're studying that. Hang on a second, I'll be right there. So let's separate that from these other 3. And these other 3, what are some of the differences? Altitude's a big difference.
Is that the threshold now?
Believe it or not, February 13th, suburbs of Seattle. It's freaking snowing outside. I had no idea it was 35 degrees out. Wow. Welcome to winter 2.0.
Risk to civilian aircraft?
Let me get through this. And then altitude's different. The Chinese spy balloon was at 60,000 plus, well outside commercial air traffic concerns. These 3 were right on the border of it. So there was a legitimate concern there. Chinese spy balloon, we knew exactly what that thing was. And we knew what it was trying to do. And we saw it, Jackie, as it slowed down, sped up, maneuvered a little bit, trying to get a look at what we believed to be sensitive military sites. These other 3, they didn't have propulsion, they weren't being maneuvered, it was basically they were being driven by the wind. We don't know for sure whether they had a surveillance aspect to them, but we can't rule it out. So there was enough uncertainty there that, again, out of an abundance of caution, doing the prudent thing, the president directed that they get taken down. And I get where you're going. Is this the standard going forward? And we're gonna dive into this. We're gonna learn from these 3 events. We're gonna continue to study what happened. We're gonna have an interagency effort that helps us get around the policy implications here, and we'll see where this goes. But bottom line for President Biden is, you gotta do the.
We gotta ask the question too. Do you think this is really gonna change how they truly look at UAP going forward? What do you think, Larry? You're on mute.
It's hard to answer that one.
I know. We're going to have to ask the audience on that as we continue on listening to this more. It's just, you know what I mean? God. You want to believe them, but again, it's like giving the kids the key to the candy store and saying, we trust you. I don't. And a lot of people don't trust them. So we still have to, Lee?
I'm just asking everybody to bear with us, and we're going to plow through this. Pay attention. He called it innocuous craft earlier.
Right.
And then shifted and said it's not balloons. It is not balloons. We are calling them objects now. Pay attention when it comes around to the end of this video. Please stick around.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally hear what you're coming from, Lee. Let's continue on with this.
Thing for the American people, for our safety and security.
Is it strange that no one's claimed these yet as theirs?
I can't say whether that's strange or not, since we're sort of in uncharted territory here, no pun intended. But we don't know, and I suspect that. Go ahead. I'm basically done. I'm basically done.
Sir, what's your name, sir?
Oh, from CBS.
Okay.
Has the payload been recovered from South Carolina yet?
The
large so-called payload that's...
Yeah, as I said, some of the debris, certainly they were able to take things off the surface like the next day, actually that afternoon, some of the balloon fabric. And in the days since, they have been able to recover some, not all, of the payload that sank to the bottom of the Atlantic. It's about 45 feet of water. Weather conditions are pretty tough off the coast right now. Like today, for instance, they have not been able to get into the water and dive on it. But over the course of the weekend, they were able to raise some of the debris, including some of the electronics and in some of the structure.
Do you have an expectation of when all that payload is going to be collected?
I don't. I wish if I could tell you that, I'd be a very wealthy man. I mean, it could take a long time, given the sea state and weather conditions and the degree to which we have to protect the safety of the divers.
And then one last question. You said you were unsure of the surveillance capabilities of these latest objects. Last week we were told several times that every precaution was taken to ensure that the sensitive installations were covered. We don't know exactly what you all did, but has there been a
Nor are you going to find out.
Well, has there been a posture change nationwide regarding all of these sensitive sites?
If you're
proactively,
let me just put a fork in this. If the implication is that there's some sort of blanket now security policy for every base on the continental United States, the answer is no. We do have protocols, particularly when we know that surveillance is going to occur, like in the Open Skies Treaty with Russia, for instance, when all that's scheduled and laid out, and when you know that there's going to be an open skies flight by Russia, you take the appropriate actions. And that's what we did in the case of the Chinese spy balloon, and we'll always do that. I will never talk about what precautions we're going to make at any given base at any given time, but we always do what we need to do to protect our nation's secrets. I won't talk about it any more than that.
Okay, we have to move on. Way in the back.
Thank
Way in the
you.
back.
Thank you very much.
No.
Iraq's?
Right there.
Okay.
Admiral, you started the briefing by talking about the president's involvement in this. The report from OVNI recently that goes over this. In that OVNI report about unidentified aerial phenomena, it says there were 247 unidentified aerial phenomenon reports since March of 2021, some of which have, quote, demonstrated unusual flight characteristics or performance capabilities. So can you say why the president just recently, within the last couple of weeks, started ordering some of these objects to be shot down, and why there weren't any orders throughout 2021 or throughout 2022?
It's very simple.
That is the question. That we've been waiting for. Why are all the other times that they have not been going and handling it this properly? I want to thank B Money 850 for this wonderful super chat. Holy cow. Where is that at? Let me go ahead and get the music up for a little quick break here. Thank you very much for that super chat, B Money 850. Hey Thomas, you need a pizza or anything, man? I'm sorry, Larry goes to all the damn weed he's smoking. I got it. When I do get my wrench, by the way, no, you're not smoking weed. I think he's smoking cigarettes. Either way, whatever's Larry's smoking, he's having a good old time. Yes, it's a short one. It's a blunt at this point. Got to have some fun. Well, thank you very much, B Money. I appreciate that. But yeah, we're just trying to order some, Chinese food, and the cell phone network for T-Mobile is down completely. Not only is it down for the cell phones, if you want to do Wi-Fi calling from T-Mobile, that's down too. Interesting why, I'm not sure, but let's continue on with this killer frickin' show.
It comes down to what sort of safety and security threats and risks we're talking about, and also it comes down to a lot to our ability to track, detect, and engage. Having come from the Pentagon, I can tell you that some of these UAPs, while we may not be able to know what each and every one is doing, some of the big concern there was that many of those reports were happening around our training ranges, were happening around air training ranges. So combat pilots were seeing these things, and there was a potential impact to the safety of flight of our pilots. But you may not have but a fleeting moment on some of these things to see it, and so it's different in these cases. We had time to detect, time to analyze, time to engage, time to make those kinds of decisions. But it all comes down to safety and security, first and foremost.
So is the time, though, is a matter of capability? We have better capabilities now than we did back
We are
then?
certainly improving our capabilities now, and as I said, the President has directed the National Security Team to dig into this deeper from an interagency effort and to see...
Oh, we have to take this as into consideration. What did he just call it? a national security team. Because remember, all of this stuff of what's being discussed and what they hide up and what they've been covering up about the phenomena for all these years has been a matter of national security. In 1947, we stopped being the United States of America, and we're the United States of America, but we're really the United Security States of America, where the national government has all this additional hidden power that they've been operating, hiding stuff on, keeping stuff out of our view because we don't need to know. But the reality of it is that's not a democracy. And this is what we've got to get past on both sides of it. These people are the ones from both sides of the community. It's the government, it's the DOD who's been going and keeping the truth from us for a long time. Doesn't matter if you like Lou or not, or if you like Greer or not. The thing is, we all come together. We're all people who understand what's there, and forget about some of the small things. Let's all come together seriously as a community. And that's what this is about, to say these are the people who are put my hand behind them, who are the real problem. My gosh, would you look at that? Holy cow. Another super chat coming in really quick. This one from Ellum in the back. This is a surprise. Holy cow. $50. Holy cow. We row as one. I love your dedication, Thomas. Seriously, you are on point daily-ish. Best channel to hang around, and I've been around. Thank you very much. We try to do what we can here, and that's the thing. We're about the truth. It's not about one voice. It's not about one vision. We've got one thing to look for. But the truth of the matter is we all see this differently. Larry? You're muted again. You're as bad as me.
Sorry. I should do that press to talk thing. Maybe that would work better. But anyway, what you were saying, Thomas, first of all, thank you very, very much, Lee. That was very kind.
Oh, God, yes, thank you, sir.
But what you're saying about the lying, that we stopped being, we stopped being the country we were in 1947 because everything. The fact is that we're not alone, and the extraterrestrials are here, and they've known that since 1947, and here we are, 2023, and they still have not told us the truth. And so they probably intend to never tell us the truth. They want this technology to just drip into their corporations, which are developing them, Lockheed and Boeing and whatever else, and make it look like it came out of our scientific pursuits and never tell us the truth. And that is disgusting, and it's not right, and it does not justify what is happening, the lie that continues. So that's where I stand on that.
Thank you very much, Larry. Let's go ahead and continue on with this.
If other improvements might need to make. I mean, look, just by adapting the way the radar parameters are set, we have improved our ability to detect. And again, I said that could be one reason why we're seeing more.
Thank you so much. So you said that
In other words, the filters were taken off.
debris fell on frozen waters or in remote areas, and these are also not huge objects, and they were shot down by missiles. So how optimistic are you that you will be able to collect enough debris to really get an idea of what these objects were?
We won't know until we get on site to see, how much damage was done, not just by the missile strike, but by the fall from a very high altitude, and as you said, in one case on sea ice. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah, thank you, John. Does Secretary of State Blinken plan to meet with his Chinese counterpart this week at the Munich Security Conference?
I'd refer you to the State Department for the Secretary's schedule. I don't have visibility on that.
Okay, and have you been able to learn more, or not you, but the government, since these objects were shot down? I mean, you just alluded to the fact that you've not been able to get on site yet. I mean, has there been any additional information since one was shot down Friday and then over the weekend?
Because these are just happened over the last few days and we haven't found the debris, there's still a lot more we expect to be able to learn. And I think once we can get to the debris, and I'm not forecasting how easy that's going to be. They all three have fallen into some pretty remote, difficult areas to reach. But we're going to do everything.
Yeah, but aren't they supposed to have some debris recovery teams already set up as per NDAA 2022? I think so.
Can to find them, and that will tell us a lot. Since I know you didn't ask about this, but in the case of the Chinese spy balloon, we have been able to recover some debris and some of the electronics and even some of the structure from the bottom of the Atlantic, and that will also tell us a lot. And we are we're learning from it right now.
No, we gotta get everybody. No, everybody.
These Chinese spy balloons have been flying over U.S. military.
When do you think that you'll have all the debris, or as much debris
US?
as you can get from all the sites?
I'm sorry, when do we think
when do you think you'll be satisfied that you've gotten as much debris as you can from all the sites?
I wish I could give you a date certain on the calendar. I can't do that. We're working to surveil them right now. In fact, there's an AVP-3 that's flying over the site in Alaska. The Canadians are in charge, obviously, of the one in the Yukon, and now the Coast Guard is in Lake Huron working with the Canadian Coast Guard to do the same thing there. So we're working this as hard as we can, and we will keep you informed as we learn more. As I'm doing today, divers in the water over the weekend. We have recovered debris off the coast of South Carolina. We'll keep you informed.
Will you brief Congress this week?
There have been briefings as early as late last week, and we do fully expect that there will be additional briefings this week, perhaps even later today.
We're running out of time,
Just
guys.
on
Go ahead.
Beijing's response, they've been very harsh. They said the first balloon was an accident and the last 3 objects were not theirs. How do you respond to that? Has the White House had conversations with Beijing about this, and can you share a little bit about that?
We know the first one was Chinese. They admitted it. They claimed it was a weather balloon. We know it's not. These 3, we don't have attribution for right now. We don't know who owns them. So I'm not going to take anybody's word at face value here until we can get a chance to take a look at them. Are we in touch with the Chinese? We have an embassy in Beijing. We maintain routine diplomatic conversations, and we have had over that spy balloon incident, we did have private discussions with senior Chinese leaders.
Quick reminder, if you're watching the show, you're having a good time, do us a favor, give us a thumbs up. And if you're not having a good time, go ahead and give us a thumbs down. Yeah, I believe the other day we actually got 40. Usually we don't get any. But if you're not having a good time, at least do us a favor. Go ahead and give us some feedback in the comments. We'll do what we can do to make sure you're getting the best broadcast possible. And if you're watching the show, you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. We just hit 5,000 subs. I guess we're going for 6 next. Let's see how long it's going to take for us to get to that next point. We appreciate everyone's love and support. Let's continue on with this broadcast.
Thanks, Admiral. I know you just said that, are you in touch with the Chinese? Is there any effort to arrange a call with President Xi at all?
I'm not aware of any plans for that.
If I could just ask a question on Israel. Does the president plan to speak with PM Netanyahu about the moves his government is making to try to weaken the Israel judiciary?
I have no calls or conversations to read out, but we are deeply concerned by some of the moves here with respect to settlements.
If they can go ahead and put explosives at the bottom of the Black Sea, they should be able to go get some stuff at the bottom of Lake Huron, or if you know what I mean.
Know what I mean, Janine?
Oh yeah.
The Moldovan president just recently has said that there was a Russian plot to sort of overthrow her government and break Moldova's path to Europe. It was something that President Zelensky himself had also warned about. What is the U.S.'s assessment of this possible plot, and more broadly, what is the concern about Russia's attempts to sort of influence these pro-European governments in the region, even though it's right now focused on Ukraine, about other countries in the region?
So, what I'll say about that is deeply concerning reports, certainly not outside the bounds of Russian behavior. And we absolutely stand with the Moldovan government and the Moldovan people.
We have no confirmation from the U.S. side of intel?
I know of no independent confirmation, but we're certainly not questioning the capacity, the will of the Russians and Mr. Putin to try to do that. It's perfectly right, a page right out of his playbook.
Yes. I was going to ask you a question. just one quick question. Have you established whether these are lighter than air or heavier?
You saw that little arm coming in. Come on, time to go. I'm not sure. I think he would have seen it there. Yeah. She's trying to pull him out of there. You're going too long. You're saying too many things.
Than air?
We have not.
Okay, but we have to get to everyone, okay? You already had a question. Go ahead.
All three shoot downs in the U.S. occurred offshore, but the one in Canada occurred over land. So is it effective U.S. policy to not shoot down these objects over land for safety concerns?
I wouldn't read into this some kind of policy decision. We will always, in deciding whether something should be taken down or not, consider the impact on the ground.
When the Chinese balloon came down, the Chinese Foreign Ministry indicated that they would respond in a way that they were prepared to. If it turns out that the other objects are also Chinese in origin, is there a menu of options prepared to the president for how we would react?
Terrific hypothetical. We're just not there yet.
Yeah, so more like it's a relationship issue. You have the Chinese spy airship that went through. You've got China buying more oil from Russia. You've got China, opening up cases in the U.S. trying to steal U.S. technology from universities. President Xi is going to be meeting with the Iranian president. At what point do you review a big review of the U.S. relationship with China? And at what point does the president ask for a call from President Xi?
Again, I don't have a call to talk about today. Let me just, again, level set here, and I know I'm running close on time, but sorry.
No, it's not your fault.
But the president met with President Xi at Bali at the G20. The whole purpose of that discussion was to move this relationship forward in a better way. Most consequential bilateral relationship in the world, the president knows that. And he wanted to move that relationship forward in a better way. And Secretary Blinken was dang near wheels up, trying to head to Beijing to have those kinds of conversations, to get some of these communication vehicles and venues back on track, whether it's climate change or military to military. We were willing to do that. We were looking forward to doing that. And then the Chinese decided to fly a surveillance balloon over the continental United States, and it wouldn't be inappropriate to have that meeting. When are those discussions going to get back on the calendar? I couldn't tell you. As Secretary Blinken has said, it'll happen at the appropriate time. Now is not that time. It doesn't mean, and people shouldn't take away from this, that all communication has been severed between the United States and China, that Beijing and Washington aren't talking. We still have an embassy there. We still have an ability through Secretary Blinken's good offices to communicate with senior Chinese leaders. Unfortunately, the Chinese military is not interested in talking to Secretary of Defense Austin, but there are still ways to communicate. And the president would tell you that now's exactly the time to at least preserve some of those lines of communication so that we can avoid miscalculation.
Set back the relationship.
What's that?
Has this list of things set back the relationship?
It has certainly not helped us move forward in the way that we wanted to move.
All right, last question in the back, and that's going to be the last question for the briefing. No, sir. No, sir. No, it's right here.
James, okay. Oh, thank you. Last Friday, you answered my question about President Biden's message during his trip to Poland. But I'm wondering why he specifically chosen Poland for this trip, since so many countries are helping Ukraine, and he visited Poland 11 months ago.
The president's really looking forward to this trip. Certainly not lost, I'm sure, on any of you that it's timed around what sadly is going to be a year of war in Ukraine. Poland has been a strident ally, a tremendous supporter of Ukraine, and a generous host, not only to American troops, but millions of Ukrainian refugees who have fled there in safety. The Poles are, pardon the pun, but they're punching well above their weight, and we very much appreciate all the support. The President wants to thank President Duda in person. He wants to thank the Polish people in person. He wants to make broader points about how it's important for the kind of courage and unity we're seeing out of Poland and so many NATO allies continues sadly into what will now be a second year of war.
What's
the message to the people of Poland?
Okay,
James,
thank you very much.
We actually have to end the briefing.
Thank you, Karine, and thank you, Admiral. Naturally, I have two questions. One on the...
He was doing something like he was closing him out. But then he said, "Oh, I've got a question for you." One more.
Aerial phenomenon. And the second will be on the Russia-Ukraine war.
He likes the attention. You got to give him that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
My understanding is that the top officials at the Pentagon, when asked explicitly if they were ruling out any kind of extraterrestrial presence, said they weren't ruling anything out. And yet at the beginning of today's briefing, albeit with her usual winning smile, Ms. Jean-Pierre seemed to rule out any extraterrestrial activity.
I don't think the American people need to worry about aliens with respect to these craft. Period. I don't think there's any more that needs to be said there.
On the Russia-Ukraine war, as we approach the anniversary, in the days immediately after the commencement of the conflict, we heard from senior U.S. officials such as the CIA director in congressional testimony that President Putin had...
I know, wasn't that the truth, Paul Murphy? I'm married, I don't celebrate Valentine's Day. Or let me guess this, you've been married for a long time. So yeah, it's just another day. So people could say, how could you say that? I get it. I get it. But someone like Tom King, enjoy your Valentine's Day, my friend. You know it's a special day for you. Absolutely.
Been observed by U.S. officials to have constricted his decision-making circle during the pandemic, that he was making erratic decisions, and these were seen to have played out in what happened on the battlefield. As we approach this year anniversary, what do we observe about President Putin's decision-making now, the caliber of his decision-making, and also his grip on power in his own country? Has any of that changed over the course of the year?
I can't speak to the way Mr. Putin gets advised and how he, you know, who's advising him and what they're saying. I couldn't begin to get inside Kremlin decision-making processes. Clearly, Mr. Putin is not making good decisions. Shouldn't have invaded in the first place. This is a country that posed no threat to anybody, let alone Russia.
Wait. Hold on a second here. The Observer's saying, how embarrassing. The world's superpower defense is penetrated by a balloon. No, they were wearing a balloon. At least they were protected, and they got through all of our defenses.
Clearly, he hasn't made sound decisions, nor has his military, with respect to their performance on the battlefield. They're still suffering some of the same problems they were a year ago. Logistics, sustainment, integration of joint fires, manpower personnel, unit cohesion. I could go on and on. The Russian military is still struggling. They have not surmounted these problems, and it's borne out by the fact that, you know, he continues to change generals the way I change socks. So, I mean, he's still struggling.
Sorry, guys, we have to end the briefing. I got to go into the Oval, but I will see you tomorrow. And thank you for the compliment on the smile. I appreciate that. But I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one.
She's got a knockout body there. Just want to say to that at the end. Not that I'm sexist. I've got a beautiful husband upstairs, but you know, she's got that dress, and she knows how to wear it. She commands the audience. That's what you need sometimes. Sometimes you need a woman in there to keep the men under control. Slow motion. Yes. Yes, sir. Talking surface monkey.
Yeah, I just want to say about this whole Russian thing. I mean, I'm sure people are aware that we provoked Russia to invade Ukraine. You know, yeah, because we're setting up or getting all of these Eastern Bloc countries to join NATO, which was something that
we're not provoking Russia. Russia's been doing this thing with Putin for the longest time.
No. If you follow what happened with the Maidan incident, you know,
no one made Russia go into Ukraine except Russia. No one tried to have to take it over and kill all those people, commit those travesties, going ahead and doing genocide against the people of Ukraine. That's not from us.
Are you aware of what's happening in the Donbass region before Russia invaded? Right?
That's right.
Yeah, we provoke them. And the reason why we're provoking them is because Russia is the only country that refuses to join the World Economic Forum. Unlike all the other countries.
We could look into that. Let's leave politics and everything off to the side. We're here for UFOs. Yes, sir, Lee. Take the floor.
So he ended the conversation with saying, and I got to pull this out of what I took my notes from. This is a direct quote from Kirby. I don't think the American people need to worry about aliens with respect to these craft, period. And he said, period. I don't think there is any more that needs to be said there. So this is my point. This started with balloons, and then they quickly said these aren't balloons. These are objects. But early on in the conversation, which we watched on the video, he said it was called innocuous craft. That's very interesting that he said that. Innocuous means harmless craft.
Yeah.
And then he goes through the whole thing, and he comes back around to the end when they ask the question about the contradiction between the White House point of fact and the Pentagon point of fact about aliens. And he circles around, and I'll say again, I don't think the American people need to worry about aliens with respect to these craft, period. I don't think there is any more that needs to be said there.
Yeah, Lee, expand. Can you expand on that, please? What do you mean? There's nothing more needs to be said.
Well, he's basically saying conversation is over. We're not talking about it anymore. But what we need to listen to is the fact that these aren't balloons. They said they're not balloons. There was a balloon, but these aren't balloons. So then he redefined it as objects. But before he redefined it as objects, he actually called it an innocuous craft.
Yeah.
And then we circled around and we had a whole hour-long conversation about blah, 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 blah. And then he finished with, we don't need to be concerned about aliens with these craft. Well, innocuous means harmless, and craft is not an object, and it's not a balloon. So
well, it could be low tech. Could be some kind of low tech, right?
It could be some kind of low tech, but I mean, they're trying to redefine this they're trying to redefine what we're talking about by saying it's an object now. It's not a balloon. But this man just stood before us and said innocuous craft and finished with, there's no reason to be worried about aliens with this craft. So they
sounds like they know they're from somewhere maybe below the ocean.
Great question, West. What is their definition of craft? Because it's not the same definition as object or balloon, is it?
True.
Well, and what I'm getting at is that maybe they're not aliens from outer space, but doesn't mean they're not ultra-terrestrials that live here on this planet that we haven't been aware of.
He framed the whole conversation. This whole video started with, it's not balloons, it's not aliens. And then it got reshifted to, these are objects, and we're trying to find out. And he finished with, it's craft. And listen, here's exactly what he said. Y'all can interpret this however you want to. I don't think the American people need to worry about aliens. Okay. With respect to these craft. I don't think there is any more that needs to be said there. Okay. What about aliens without respect to this craft?
Yeah.
So he's left the door wide open, and he's changed the narrative against his own narrative that was established by the person that actually ran the press conference before he even came on it.
Right.
Well, and remember the little trick that Lou used to do? You couldn't ask him a direct question, but you could ask him what he thought. And in this case, he said what he thought. He didn't give us a fact.
Well, and my point is that they're saying these aren't balloons. We're calling them objects now. But even the man that said we're calling them objects now said innocuous craft and referred to aliens and craft in the same sentence.
Yeah, because to your point, right? He didn't say these aren't aliens. He said we don't need to worry about aliens.
And respective to these craft.
Well, the thing to keep in mind too is if he had, and this is my opinion, if he believed truly that these weren't aliens, then he should have the guts to say, "You don't need to worry. We know these are not aliens." But
that's not what he said. What he said was,
I know that's not what he said.
What he
I'm
said was, these craft that you guys have witnessed and that have been on the stage, it's not aliens. But it doesn't rule out aliens. So they're leaving it wide open.
Yeah.
And he actually changed his own narrative twice.
But
Two times.
They never said that. They're saying, they're trying to say, you don't need to worry about this. We don't think they're aliens. But if they knew that as a fact, they wouldn't have to use the word think. They would just say, we know this isn't aliens.
Absolutely.
Right.
I need to welcome
So
Mike. I need to welcome Mike, Crypto Mike. Welcome to the conversation, my friend. How the hell are you?
Oh, it's been an interesting past couple of days, huh, Thomas?
Oh, I know. Crazy times a bit. And I've actually
I'm very
just
interested to know what you know or what you think, Mike.
Oh, hi, Lee. Hi, Larry. Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Well, listen.
Hi, Mike.
Larry said it first a couple of days ago before all the fun started. And he said that whatever it is or whatever it may be, if we can shoot it down, it's not a UAP. And that hasn't changed. He's 100% right on that.
Unless they're allowing it to be shot down.
Yeah, there's no way if it was actual UAP tech that we would have been able to shoot that down at all.
Right.
And the bits and pieces that have been coming out over the past couple of days, the reason they're not calling it a balloon is because the 200-foot, 6,000-pound white Chinese balloon was made out of like a canvas and typical balloon material. But Senator Chuck Schumer came out and was talking about how the intelligence community gave a briefing to Congress, and the material that are used in these much smaller objects, like 12 to 14 feet, will have metal material. They're like metal balloons. The military and John Kirby, the admiral, said specifically they were not under power. They were not moving at a rate of speed. They were going with basically the wind currents. There was no heat detected with the infrared. The reason that the Sidewinder missiles were able to shoot them down was because of the contrast, the difference of the background radiation, the heat, and this didn't have that amount of heat. So it was able to lock on. So whatever these things are, they're small, metallic, they were shot down, and they also said they pose no threat. So no weapons, no sensor capability. It's a complete mystery as far as whose they are. What I find really funny, though, is that in the middle of this, over the past couple of days, yesterday China came out and said, oh, yeah, we're shooting them down, too. So,
well, Mike, let me ask you. Innocuous is a word that most of the population of this country or the world doesn't use even once in an entire year. Like, it's a very specific word. And innocuous means harmless. So he said innocuous craft, harmless craft. So why are they shooting down harmless craft?
So as in the sentence, the migraine I have is far from innocuous.
I like that. That's a good one, Thomas.
Oh, yeah. I just took 3 meds for it. I've been trying to cut into the conversation to say great conversation so far.
No, I apologize. But Mike, please answer. Because innocuous is not a word that people use, and he used it very surgically. He used it one time. And innocuous has a direct meaning. So they shot down harmless craft. What do you think about that?
Well, the reporters, and I said this the last time, they are asking some really hard-hitting questions. And I'm impressed by the press corps. They addressed this with Admiral Kirby, and he explained that the policy of the United States and of the military is that even the head of NORAD, General Van Herk, he was talking about if it's a kinetic threat, if it's able to launch missiles or bombs or is a threat to the United States, or if it's a threat to commercial aviation safety, that they have the ability to shoot whatever it is down. So these things are operating between 20 and 40,000 feet. And even though we're not under power, we're not a threat with any weapons or any spying, which means that the object itself is innocuous. So no harm. But because it was in the wrong place at the wrong time without explanation, they had no choice but to shoot it down to clear the airway for the commercial jets. They were very clear about that. So that's why they shot these things down. And the reason that this is going on is because the Chinese balloon that came into the United States, they didn't catch it. The radar systems that we have that cover the world, geosynchronous satellites, that are able to pick up anything, anywhere. The reason why they weren't able to detect the Chinese balloon until somebody on the ground looked up and said, hey, what the fuck is that? They got caught with their pants down, the U.S. government. And the reason that happened is, Christopher Mellon said this the other day, they have screens on the system that block it from picking anything up that they don't consider a priority. It picks up ballistic missiles, it picks up high-speed launches, but what it won't pick up is slow-moving craft or small objects that they don't consider to be a threat. But once the Chinese balloon ended up crossing this country for the course of a week, they removed those parameters, and it opened it up to picking up the smallest, slowest objects anywhere around, including over the continental United States, which is Canada, the United States, and Mexico. So now they're starting to pick all this shit up that before now they considered it to be just air trash, junk.
All right. I need to jump in here and take the mic for a second. We've got someone who gave us a super chat to ask and say, hey, why don't we have a survey going right now? So we're going to go ahead and do that. I've got a survey up on the board. Let me bring it up right now. I think I can still remember how to do this. So there it is over there on that screen. Let's go ahead and jump back to where I was again from desktop Zoom. There we go. Quickly, the craft is, from what we've seen, what do you think? Is it from humans? Is it not from humans? Look at that. We're back to the 60-40 again, like we were the other night. The audience is pretty predictable. It's either we're like right at the, one or the other, or, it's a little bit higher than we've had before. Hey, Google, give me a timer for 1 minute, please.
All right, 1 minute, and we're starting now.
Yeah, makes it easy. Easy. It's so nice, though, just to say for timers and everything. And if you ever have an elderly person you have to take care of, I have to say Alexas are a godsend. You can tell it to go ahead and give it reminders, and it'll say, hey, Virginia, it's time for your afternoon pills. Have you taken them yet? Did it for my mom. She had little things I had her say when she was around with us. It was just made it so much easier, and there's nothing like dropping into someone's place. Now look at that. Holy cow, 71 votes in already. 61% is saying the craft is from humans. 40% of the people are saying that it's not from humans. That 60-40 split. We've seen this for several nights in a row now as we've put this up. Only 15 seconds left to go. Let's see where it's going to go. 61-39. Dudes, come on, let's get to 69. 7 seconds left with only 4 seconds left. 3, 2, 1 before I go ahead and end that and end the poll. I believe I took a picture of it. Come on. Google, stop.
So, Mike.
Take this out. I'm not done, Lee, yet. Hold on. Just to go ahead and wrap up where we were at. Yes, we got it. Coming in from the audience. 62% of our audience is saying, make it big enough so we can actually see it here. Come on, Tom. You can do it. 62% of our audience is saying it's from humans. 38% not from humans. So the not from humans is going down a little bit. Absolutely. Lee, you were just saying?
No, I'm just saying. So, if you go back through the video of what he said, what he actually said is that they haven't actually even gotten to the site yet for these crash retrievals. Now, this is important because there's actually only one crash retrieval, if there is one, that they could get to. And the reason why is, I'm not talking about the China balloon. I'm talking about the other three. The first one shot down in Canada, that's in the domain of Canada. So, okay. Lake Huron.
The first one that was shot down was not from Canada.
That's right.
That one was shot down going north over Alaska, trying to get away from it, and that came down on the ice. That's by far the easiest one.
So the other two actually fell into Canadian territory, so that's their domain. But my point is, Yeah, it actually did. Like it was spoke about earlier today that it fell into Lake Huron, but it fell on the Canadian side, and the National Guard went out to go retrieve it, but they had to collaborate with the Canadian government because it actually fell into the Canada side of Lake Huron.
Yeah, the Coast Guard, right?
That's right. Right. National Guard, Coast Guard. That's right. So this is an important fact because that comes down to domain. Who owns where it fell?
Well, the first one they took down.
It's great that you shot it down, but where did it fall? My point is, he said innocuous craft, and he spoke innocuous craft to all three of these craft. How does he know if, first of all, if there is only one crash retrieval that is on U.S. soil that they can get to, which he admittedly said they haven't been able to get to yet because they haven't been able to get through the wilderness and the conditions to get to it. And then there's two others that are on Canadian soil that they haven't gotten to yet or collaborated with yet to find out. How does he know it's harmless?
They don't. You believe him?
I do believe him because that is a word that is not used. That was a specific word that was used.
I think it's because they were floating in the wind. They really didn't seem to have propulsion.
And this is what we should have to go off of. There is no threat here, guys.
Well, here's the thing. The U.S. Air Force, Lee, for the longest time, the U.S. Air Force, Lee, for the longest time, has been going and saying there is no threat from these UFOs.
They know what it is.
They know what it is. They know if there's a threat, there's not a threat. And it's the other parts of the DOD. It's the Ryan Graves. It's the Lou sometimes, Christopher Mellon's coming out and saying there's an air safety issue. There's a threat. But the reality of it is the Air Force, who's been looking over this, shepherding this covert operation for over 75 years, they know it better than anybody else. And if they're saying it's not a threat.
They know it's air safety. That's the reason why they're shooting things down. But let's filter through the bullshit, pardon me, for a moment. They know what it is. They do.
It's not UAP. It's not UAP, Lee. These are some man-made devices of a small scale.
They know what it is. That's why you say it's innocuous. They know what it is. We don't know what it is. Well, they haven't told us. They haven't told us what it is, but they know what it is, and it's not what we are thinking that it is. We're in a terrible spot because they are not giving it. And Larry, I'm sorry. Yes, you can speak to it here in just a second, and I agree with what you're saying. They are lying to us so much. They know way more.
Then don't believe them on anything, then, Lee. You're putting too much faith in the one guy's word that's being used. This isn't like Lou who's trying to drop breadcrumbs. This is from the guy who's trying to cover everything up, and his job is to cover everything up and not give you the truth.
They don't have anything to be worried about, and when he uses that specific terminology, innocuous, nobody uses that word, Thomas. Not even in a year.
Wonderful. It's him. How many press briefings have you watched from Mr. Kirby?
A lot.
I've seen a lot with him.
Yeah.
He seems to be even-keeled and
I know.
Keeps a professional demeanor.
Oh, yeah, he does. Absolutely. It's one of those things we got to take a look back at it and look at the time and say, holy cow, it's 8:21. Bunch of people in the audience enjoying the show, but my head is freaking killing me. So it's, yes, we can move on to that, Heidi T, but I think we're going to do more than move on from that. I think we're going to say it's been a great show so far. Holy cow, what a great audience. What a great time. I want to go ahead and thank everybody for coming out here tonight. More importantly, I want to thank all the people who are out there in the chat right now. Thank the chat first, some super chats, and then from there we're going to go ahead and thank the people in the back. So let's go ahead. I want to take Secret to Amiga Rules. And, let me go ahead and just thank all the people who came out here today really quick. Wrong one. All right, I want to thank Amiga Rules, Arrows Andy, Arthur Preston, Blake McCreary. These are all the people who have been in the chat the whole day today. It wouldn't be the same without you. Bradley Stewart, Brendan Curtis, Brett Perryman, Brian Goody, Cable Guy, Curtis Bartel, Darren N, Dennis Benke, Electra RC, also known as Zach, Eli McGinnis, Geezer Prime, Gray Troll, Heidi T, Ingrid Cold. Remember, if you're having a good time, remember to hit that thumbs up. And if you're not, go ahead and give us a thumbs down. But at least tell us that you're not having a good time. More importantly, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please hit that subscribe. Again, Gray Troll, Heidi T, Ingrid Cold, Jackie Redford, Jan in the middle again, Jay Burke, Kelly Bro with those piercing blue eyes, Mac Guffin, Marconius Connector V. Oh, Maraxa Tech, good to see you. Thanks for coming out tonight. Michael Wright, Mr. Catfish 2100, Owen from Ohio, Paradigm Theories, Paul Murphy, Pete Liebel, Ray Block, Ronald Smith, Sublime Soul. Someone popped in there along the way. We'll get there. And also Thor Panchow. I want to thank everybody for coming out. What a great show. What a great audience. More importantly, I want to thank everybody for all the wonderful super chats that came in today during the show. Holy cow. I'm so humbled by everyone's love and support and everything that everyone pours into on this channel. It's something that means a lot for me. I've been involved with this since the age of 5. Yeah, one of those guys who had stuff happen. I don't get into it too much, but when I do, it's why I'm here and why we're doing this and trying to bring out the truth as far as what's going on. We're a completely fan-funded site. We appreciate every donation that comes in from everybody in the audience. Thank you very much. I am so humbled by everyone's love and support. More importantly, I want to thank for today's donations Rick Roberts, Jonathan Horvat. I'll bring this up here right. LM, B Money 850, Geezer Prime, Spaced Out Radio, B Money 850 again. Paul Murphy, Geezer Prime again, Mr. Catfish 2100, W. Decker, Paul Murphy, Jonathan Horvat, Abe Trough. I want to thank everybody for support. Lee, again, thanks for that whole big super chat. And it's not just the people who in the chat, it's not just the people who donated, it's the people who have been here keeping this conversation going today. Let me get back into the studio. Crypto Mike, thanks for stopping in today. Holy cow.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. Take care of that migraine of yours.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm kind of doing what I have to do. The pills are starting to kick in, and I need to go kick back as Cupcake wakes up as well. I want to thank Andy W. You're still around here. Thanks for coming in today.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Thomas. Sorry I've been quiet tonight. Trying to stay awake tonight. Not you, mate.
Not a problem. I get it. I understand. Wes Decker, thanks for coming out tonight, buddy.
Hey, thank you, and thanks again for all the great coverage this weekend.
Absolutely. Next up on the list, let's see, we've got LM. Thanks for coming out tonight, my friend.
Thomas, you know I love you, and I love everybody that sits in and talks about these things. I wish more people would join the panel. We are not the only voices that need to be heard.
Absolutely, and we'll try and do that on the next call, on the next time. Who else do we have in the back? Larry Gert, Larry, quite contrary. How does he let your hair grow? I can never get that.
Well, I'm going to get it cut tomorrow because I know it's kind of crazy right now. I'm going to get a few inches cut off. But anyway, I wanted to thank Mike because his comments were just so clear, super clear, and I absolutely had to nod my head and say, yeah, that's pretty much it. Case closed.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that, and thank you for your coverage, Thomas. It was great.
Thank you very much. Let's see. I think next came in was Talking Surface Monkey. Thanks for coming in tonight, buddy.
Yeah,
some great thoughts.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing about you people who were saying that Kirby is a professional. Yeah, he's a professional liar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Just like Susan Goff.
We all know that's their job. That's their job, right?
Absolutely. Definitely a great way of looking at it. And also in the back, we've got Syrup. Thank you for coming in tonight, Syrup. Appreciate it.
No, thank you. Yeah, I had a few things I wanted to say, but I'll wait till next time, man.
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming out tonight. Yeah.
So thank you.
It was just getting a bit too much, and I was trying to moderate and everything, and I just had to take care of myself, what we have to do sometimes.
Absolutely.
All right. Nose Gary, are you still around? Are you relaxing?
Yeah, I'm here in the background. Yeah.
All right. I hope you're feeling better as well. Big Gary, our producer, ack in the back. Thanks for coming out. And as we usually say, Mike, thanks for coming out tonight. I almost forgot about you. Let me tell you. I got to tell you about it, Mike.
UFOs.
Sorry, Gary. Go ahead.
I
said
hello.
How are you?
To the
Hello.
show. Hello. Tonight we're going to talk about UFOs. Thomas, go ahead.
There you go, Gary.
Yeah, I'm helping.
Yeah. Listen, I got a quick question. Did you see at the beginning of the press conference with Admiral Kirby? He said that in June of 2021, President Biden initiated daily briefings on the UAP subject, and that it includes not just the United States, but all of our allies. So my question is this. If the president was so interested in this subject going back to 2021, why did the Congress have to enact the NDAA 2023 to get any attention? Any ideas on that? Any opinion? So what the hell is it that he's so really interested, but we haven't heard a goddamn thing coming out of him?
That's a very good question, Mike.
Yeah, I was curious what you thought about that.
What'd you say, Gary?
I said it means he watches Star Trek.
Means he watches Star Trek. Good way to put it. Good way to put it. And as we usually say, at the end of every one of our broadcasts, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everyone.
Go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll catch you on the flip side. See you tomorrow, everybody. We love you. Good night, and we'll see you soon. Good night, Kelly. Good seeing you here. Let me go ahead and put you away, and I'll put myself away. Good night, everybody. Take care.